Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.
Hey, happy Friday Eve, everybody. D-Gun, R. Ellis hanging out with you on this Thursday, all the way up to May 25th. There's less than a week left in the month of May. D-Gun, what's up?
Not just the month of May, but
the greatest month ever.
Thank you. Month of May is the greatest month ever. My man, it's a great day, man.
Yes.
I just rushed back, as you know. I had to go to my 4-year-old grandson's preschool graduation. Dude, let me tell you something.
Yes.
Watching a bunch of 4-year-olds on stage and teachers trying to control them. Dude, it's and my 4-year-old grandson, he's all over the place, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they sing these songs and they do these motions and stuff. But these teachers are so good with these kids and so patient.
Right.
And I have a special affection for teachers as it is, because my mom was a teacher and I had a number of aunts who were teachers as well.
Yep.
And, you know, unfortunately, we live in a day and age where there's such a dire need for teachers that most schools across the country are understaffed. And I understand why. You know, you look at the videos that come across on social media, kids disrespecting teachers in the classroom, swinging at teachers. Teachers can't control kids. And when my mom taught, you know, my mom in her era, you can grab a kid and correct them. Like you could, you know, paddle their hand and stuff like that. You look at a kid wrong nowadays, and the parent is suing the school and the school district.
Yep.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem.
These kids, a lot of these kids are out of control, man. Mm-hmm. It starts in the home. And I understand, you know, people have to work. Some people 2 and 3, 4 jobs. I get it. But when you train them right when they're young, it carries over, you know, manners, respect, you know, when you go out in public, Rob, think about some of the things you see like young kids do, teenagers doing, man, some of the stuff they say. And it's like, man, if I did that in my era, I wouldn't be here today. My parents would have sent me to the next universe, man.
Well, so my parents always took the word of the teacher. Like if I would come up, they'd be like, okay. Now every parent errs on the side of the kid. You know what I mean? Like mine took no nonsense. Like there'd be a conversation had immediately if I acted up. I can tell you that. It would be immediate and swift, the justice that was handed down to me. I can tell you about it. Yeah.
Dude, as a grown man, I've never said anything that ever disrespected my parents when they were alive. Even if I didn't disagree with them, there's a way to debate with respect. You know, you people now dropping F-bombs at their parents and stuff like that, even in public. And I'm thinking, you know, you just take them and you want to knock the soul out of some of these kids.
Right.
And you look at the kids are running the classrooms nowadays. I have a cousin, and he's like the head of security at a high school in my hometown, Milwaukee. And some of the stories he tells me about breaking up fights in the hallway, pulling kids out of classrooms, you know, a lot of times classes have to stop because of the disruption in a classroom. Man, there ain't no way in the world that would have happened in my era, dude. There ain't no way.
It is different. And teachers are in a really tough spot.
Yes.
Because
they're not paid enough, first of all.
Yeah.
They don't get the support from homes like they should, like we did when we were coming. Dude, I was at a point, dude. Now, it's funny. I was real tough on my kids when it comes to, I better not get a call from your teachers saying you acted up in class. That was standard in the house. And they never did. So I say maybe about 7, 8 years ago, we were cleaning out, my wife and daughters to clean out a basement. They found one of my old middle school report cards, right? I had an F in conduct, but it was not out of disrespect. I was a class clown. I would make people laugh. And then, and that was at a Catholic school. and the nuns would turn around, who is that? And my voice would be like, that's Derek. I mean, they dime you out in a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Gunn, would you like to come up to the front of the class? No, I don't want to come up to the. But I was a class clown,
Mm-hmm.
and even when I was good, when my mom would go to parent teacher conference, I was sweating bullets because the nuns would tell it. From my version, they would embellish the story. By the time my mom got home to tell my dad, the story would be embellished twofold.
Oh, yeah.
I was dead to rights.
Uh-huh.
Ain't nothing I can do. You know?
I know. That was the worst.
Man.
The worst feeling was waiting till your dad got home or whatever, man.
Woo!
Or either one of them, really.
What?
Yeah, it was.
I think I got one spanking as a grade schooler when my mom said, wait till your dad gets home. I think one. It only took one time because when my dad hit you, it was like thunder going through your backside.
Yeah.
And so you remember that feeling, and you didn't want that.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. What's up, everybody? See Sweenbull, see CJ, see Brendan. Good to see Brendan hanging out with us. I see Barbara. I see Tyler. I see Chris D. I see Mike, Mr. Taz. Everybody. If I missed anybody, they're going fast and furious, and you guys are the best, man. Love everybody checking in. Everybody hanging out with us on this day. So it went well. He graduated. Right.
Graduated from 4th grade. Right now, they're all at this restaurant celebrating. I had to get my food to run. So in commercial breaks, I will be indulging in these tacos, refried beans, and Spanish rice that is sitting to my left.
Again.
So if you come back from a break and you see my jaws full like a chipmunk, you know, I can smell it, man. The spirit is wrong. The spirit is strong, but the flesh is weak.
Oh my God! All right,
I'm having struggles right now, bro.
Derek rubbing it in once again. All right. Yes, it looks good. Good for you. What else is new? So we were sitting here yesterday. We signed off at 3:00 Eastern. And the Phillies at that point were down 5-0, Derek, and it looked like here we go again.
Yes,
this thing's over. But to their credit, the bullpen went 5 innings, didn't give up a run. They chipped away and got a 3 spot. They got to the bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. Trey Turner up, 2-run shot, which he desperately needed. They desperately needed. In the worst of ways. It got to the 10th. Phillies won it in the 10th. Now, big picture, they won 1 of 3 games. But more sort of micro, macro, however you want to look at it. They needed to win bad. They needed to stop the bleeding. And that guy, more than anybody else, needed a big hit. Yes, and he delivered it. And it could be. I need to see it before I believe it. However, could be the case that 2 months from now, we're going to say to ourselves, you remember that afternoon game where the Phillies came back against the Diamondbacks?
Yeah.
And that really got the ball rolling here at the end of May. Remember that one? It could be that kind of game because it was that sort of momentous, swing that they have had so little of this season.
Did you see the comment from Trey Turner where he said even his mom texted him and told him she was booing him?
Yeah. After the at-bat before that. So for folks that didn't see it, he had maybe the worst at-bat of his life. He swung at a ball that was
oh my goodness.
I mean, nowhere near the strike zone.
2 balls. 2.
Yeah. And it was just like, oh my God, this guy's really lost. So yeah, he was really funny afterwards because he was asked about the boos and he said, no, listen, I don't hear them. My mom prepared me for anything in life. And then the follow-up was, did mom ever boo you? And then his answer was, she texted me that she was booing me after that 4th at bat. I mean, with a good sense of humor. The guy puts things in perspective. I'll give him that much. He's able to kind of laugh at himself.
I mean, you have to. I mean, when things are going bad, what are you going to do? You're not going to correct it by lashing out at people.
Right.
And as we know, baseball is a game of ebbs and flows. And every hitter goes into a tailspin, and you have to swing your way out of it. You get in the batting cage early, you work on mechanics, the stance, arc of your swing, so on and so forth. It's just a matter of time. But if there's anybody who needed a big hit, considering how things were going, it's to the point now the fans are even booing Trey Turner.
Yeah.
You mean the one that they couldn't wait to see who came out of the World Baseball Classic, who hit a definitive home run in that game, who started out the season on fire. Even the fans are now booing Trey Turner. So he needed that. Now, like you said, they're about to embark, starting today, on a crucial 7-game series against Atlanta and the Mets. One team's ahead of them, or 2 teams that are ahead of them. They've got to make some headway right now.
Mm-hmm.
No more excuses. You got to make some headway.
I hear you. All right. So a couple other odds and ends here. We got game 5 of the Heat Celtics series. This game goes back to Boston. Derek, I think the Celtics win this one tonight. I think this thing stays alive. I looked at the spread earlier. Boston's -8. That's a monstrous line.
Yeah, it is.
Vegas is telling you something here.
Yeah, it is. And we talked about this yesterday. I honestly believe Boston's going to win this game tonight and force a game 6. Now, I don't know if it'll go beyond game 6, but I think that egg on their faces from Monday night had an impact on them, pride and everything else, and they showed it. They turned around. They played the kind of defense that Boston had been playing throughout the playoffs. They hit the shots from beyond the arc. Somehow, Jason Tatum was resurrected and found his jump shot. And I think going home tonight in front of that home crowd is going to do wonders for them and push it to a game 6. Now, if they go to game 6 and somehow, some way, Miami messes around and allows that, Boston's going to come back and win the series.
I agree. It gets to 7. I think Boston wins.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Now, that's an advantage for Denver. Or even if Miami wins, it's an advantage for Denver because Denver's sitting at home drinking Mai Tais under umbrellas and stuff, swimming at the pool, waiting to find out who they're going to play.
Yeah, it's going to be a long, long time off. That's for sure for them. All right, so that's tonight. Speaking of Florida teams, the Florida Panthers have advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals. They swept out, and it was in impressive fashion. That game was back and forth last night, but the Carolina Hurricanes. You know that, I don't know if people have been Flyers fans have been paying attention to this, but Sergei Bobrovsky is the goalie for the Panthers, former Flyer, and he's been nothing short of great in these playoffs and in the series. Yeah, he's been awesome.
Why did the Flyers give up on him?
Can you
explain that to me?
I can tell you exactly what happened. So Ed Snyder was really kind of frustrated. Ed Snyder was still, around at this point. And he just didn't feel like Sergei Bobrovsky was the kind of guy you could win a Stanley Cup with. And he basically gave a mandate to the front office and said, get us Ilya Bryzgalov. We all know how that worked out. The Briz. Yeah, it did not work out too well. And, Bobrovsky's had a nice career. Went to Columbus, kind of bounced around a little bit, but he's really found a home there in Florida. And I'll tell you, they're tough, man. They are tough, man. Matthew Tkachuk has been ridiculous in this series. Keith Tkachuk's son, he's been flat out awesome. So now tonight, the Golden Knights of Vegas can sweep out the Dallas Stars.
Right.
You could have a Stanley Cup final with a team from Florida and a team from Vegas. The times
that's all right.
They haven't changed, my friend.
Yeah, but you know what? That's all right, though. I mean, I know a lot of ways the networks want the traditional matchups because the first thing they're thinking is, you know what? The bigger the market, the more people we get to watch. But I like this infusion of different teams getting there. Just from a sports fan perspective, don't have a rooting interest for either team, but it's 2 good teams who earn the right to be there. Florida, the first time in 26 years they're getting to the Stanley Cup Finals. I remember covering Florida when I worked in Pittsburgh when I was covering the Penguins, man. I had to go down to Florida when the Penguins were playing. And at that time, I don't know how it started, but whenever the Panthers would score a goal, the crowd would rain down these rubber rats on the ice.
That was for Scott Mellenby. His nickname was the Rat.
Yeah, they would rain them down. Rain them down. The game had to be stopped. You'd have to get several guys out there with shovels, scoop them up. And you go in the tunnels, and I'm telling you, there would be a pile like you wouldn't believe. Taller than you. I'm talking about taller than 5 feet high.
I believe.
Here's the funny thing. You're standing there, you're looking at this pile, in awe and amazement. And all of a sudden you notice there's actually real rats playing in the rubber rats, like a playground. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2. I'm talking about multiple rats dancing in and out of the rubber rats. And you're standing there. Women are freaking out. Guys are standing there laughing and like their mouths gaping open. And I'm thinking, how do they allow this here?
I have no. Oof.
I was gross, man. I'm like, how do you allow this? Because I'm telling you, if somebody gets bit, lawsuit.
Oof. Oof. Yeah, so they're going to play it. We'll see if they can advance tonight. That'll be your Stanley Cup Finals. Beyond that, there are a couple other things. I saw this. I thought it was interesting. So the Eagles have their OTAs next week, and they've had a couple of veterans meeting, with the media the last couple of days. And Dan's right. Big Sills is right. Paul Maurice has done an amazing job with the Panthers. Couldn't agree more.
No question.
He's, I'm happy for that guy. He's been around a long time. So anyway, so the Eagles have their season opener, as we talked about, at New England. Did you see this? So that the ticket for that game is the most in-demand NFL ticket on the secondary market.
Say that again.
The demand on the secondary market for a ticket for that game between the Eagles and the Patriots, because it's Tom Brady night, it's the opener, all that kind of thing, is higher than any other ticket out there for any opener in the NFL, any of the other matchups in the secondary market.
Are you surprised?
I'm not. Here's why I'm not surprised. Number one, the Eagles are coming off a Super Bowl run. Didn't win it, but a run. It's the Patriots. It's Tom Brady night, and the Eagles travel, I would argue, better than any team in the NFL. So I'm not surprised one bit. Did it surprise you?
No. When you have the GOAT on stage, that's, whether you like him or not, that's an instant draw.
Yep.
The Eagles have become one of the hot commodities to watch and talk about in the National Football League. And to open up the season, especially in Tom Brady's former backyard against the hated evil empire, it's the perfect scenario.
Yeah.
And when you think about the Patriots, they're not just a Boston team. It's a New England team. So there are several states that gravitates towards the New England Patriots that call them their team. So, no, I'm not surprised in any way, shape, or form that this game has already become a powder keg in terms of people wanting to say they were there. I mean, think about how many big moments in sports, and we used to joke about this all the time at NBC Sports, when you talk about them and people say, oh, yeah, I was there, and you're like, man, I bet you weren't even close. So you're probably sitting in front of a TV somewhere. But everybody wants to say they were there for that special moment. And let's face it, people want to celebrate, Tom Brady, what he did for the New England Patriots, the pride that he gave that organization for so many years, getting them to 10 Super Bowls, winning 7, winning 6, I should say. So I understand. It's a great matchup.
I think so too. And, Barber says the Patriots aren't very good. Well, here's what I would say, Barber, to that. I think a lot of this depends on what Bill O'Brien can get out of Mac Jones.
Right.
I think if you watch, they were pretty good defensively last year. And Belichick teams are usually pretty good. I don't know. New England is one of those sort of wild card teams for me. They could be just mediocre again, like they were last year, and not good enough to get in the playoffs. Or if they get the offense righted, I think they're dangerous. The problem is they're in a really tough division. That division, is loaded. Now.
Yeah. And adding Aaron Rodgers and that nucleus there with the Jets only makes it worse.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've said several times over the past couple of weeks, a Bill Belichick defense will show up on the field.
Yep.
Now, we looked at yesterday or the day before the collection of pass catchers they have now. Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman, stuff like that. No, Mecole Hardman's with the Jets. Yep. But they have a decent collection.
Yeah, they added some
pass catchers.
They added Gesicki as a tight end.
Yeah. They've got a couple of good tight ends. They have Hunter Henry.
Yep.
They've got a couple of good tight ends. Can Bill O'Brien bring out that next level in Mac Jones?
Yeah.
The way Brian Daboll did with Daniel Jones. We're not going to find that out, but that defense is going to keep them in games and give the offense opportunities to win. Will they be cohesive enough on the offensive side of the football to get it done? We're going to see.
Yeah, I hear you. Tyler has a question regarding DJ Fluker, and what do I think? I think it's a depth move, Tyler. If they sign him, for people who don't know, they worked him out. He apparently has dropped a lot of weight and is in as good a shape he's been in a really long time. He's an offensive lineman for folks who may not know, but I think they realize they don't have great depth. You talk about a guy who, hasn't played football in a while here. He was signed in late December to the Jags practice squad and released 3 days later. That was late December of 21. He hasn't played since then. So we'll see if he's kind of dedicated himself differently to the craft. Maybe you talk about a guy with legitimate size.
Yeah.
He's a really big man, 6'5", 330. Apparently he's down, around 300. But there's some versatility. You can move him around a little bit. I think it can't hurt. And look, the thing is, Jeff Stoutland coached him at Bama, so he knows him pretty well. And I think he'll have an idea how much the guy has left in the tank. So I think I'm fine with it. Like, to me, kick tires by all means. See what you got.
You know what? And if anybody can coach him up, it's Jeff Stoutland.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, he could add to that depth that we were talking about, that we were suspect about the other day. We know they have Opeta there. We know they have Driscoll there. We know Driscoll's better suited at guard than he is playing at tackle.
Yeah.
Fluker could be this guy that could be that diamond in the rough. The Eagles have done wonders in terms of coaching up offensive linemen. And I'm not talking about just starters, but when a starter goes down, a guy can come in and fill the void and they don't miss a beat in terms of what they need to do. You look at how many teams they played last year when a tackle went down for them or a guard went down. The Eagles exploited that weakness in that defense. When the Eagles have had offensive linemen go down, you don't exploit it. Now, it may not be as crisp as that frontline guy, but it doesn't stop them from doing what they need to do in terms of being efficient as an offense. There's no spoke in the wheel that's out of sync with them, and that's credit to Jeff Stoutland for what he does, not just coaching them up, but cross-training them to fill multiple gaps. Fluker could be a guy who could be a valuable backup asset to this team.
Yeah, but understand, it is a bit of a reclamation project.
It is. It
is. But they do need depth. We went through the depth yesterday, and I don't love it. And to me, it's the most glaring difference between this year's team and last year's team. They were loaded depth-wise at almost every position. Now, that's really hard to do with a salary cap, and in this day and age, it's really hard. But I think, that this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to just gather as much intel and look at as many people as they can to add to it, because they do need a little bit of help there. And this was a highly touted guy. He never lived up to the promise when he came out with where the Chargers took him. He was the 11th pick overall.
Yeah.
But now we're going back to 2013. So he's been around a little while.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm good. Look, I trust them enough to know they know what they're looking at, especially at that position. Especially with a guy like Stoutland. So by all means, I have no issue with that. So the OTAs kick off next week, Derek. And then we mentioned they go lighter pretty much than any other team does. And it's worked for them. So I'm fine. I trust them as far as that goes. I know a lot of people don't like it. But that's, it's all good as far as that goes. A couple things that you and I were talking about pre-show. We're going over. Pat McAfee is about to start at ESPN.
Right.
And leave his, I think it was DirecTV, I think is who he was with, or was it FanDuel? I'm trying to remember whoever he was with. But he was making $30 million per year. He had a 4-year, $120 million deal. And obviously he got a lot more to leave. He's basically taking over like ESPN's afternoon programming. And what he's done up until this point where he went with ESPN kind of on his own has been pretty remarkable. And it has really shaped our business in a lot of ways. But the offshoot of this is, and it's not just, this was happening before the McAfee signing.
Right.
ESPN is laying off 7,000 people, Derek.
Worldwide.
Worldwide. It's going to be behind the scenes and in front of the camera. It's a lot of folks losing jobs.
Well, the first bloodletting began back on April 24th, and the second wave of it is coming in June. And some talent is going to be hit, but let's face it, talent's going to find jobs. It's the people behind the scenes, and that's where they're going to get hit the hardest. It's the videographers, the graphic people, salespeople, marketing people, floor directors, producers. Those are the people who went to ESPN and have been there for years, because ESPN is still considered the epitome of a sports entity you want to work for, to have that on your resume. And a lot of those people, as you know, because you work there, are from that area.
Yep.
So it's going to force a lot of people to reroute their lives, many of which may have to move to different parts of the country. They don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
But you got a family to take care of, or you got bills to pay. Even if you're single, you got bills to pay.
Yep.
And it's going to force you out. in a lot of ways. Now we understand that we start seeing a lot of this back in 2016. Heck, it started at Comcast Sportsnet.
Start at the regionals, at the regional level.
At the regional.
And
Started
we've
with a
all
lot of
felt
our
it before.
colleagues.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, how many times did we walk in the office and see colleagues standing there crying because they thought they were going to work that day,
or carrying a box out,
and carrying a box out, crying because they told today's your last day, you're not working today.
Yep.
You know, there's no warning, just side swipes. You know, and it continues in every corporation, not just in television, but across every platform you can think of.
Yep.
Has whacked employees left and right. Here's the problem I have. You whack the little guys who help make your network what it is. The people who don't get the notoriety, the people whose faces are not on camera, are as much, if not more important than the people sitting in front of a camera, because without those people, you can't get it done.
Yep.
Without those people doing the stats and the graphics and updating you on storylines, it makes us in front of a camera look a lot smarter. Okay. And now you're cutting the cords with these people, but yet you're paying the likes of Troy Aikman $18 million a year, Joe Buck $15 million a year, Stephen A. Smith $15 million a year. I'm not saying they're not worth the money, because you know me, Rob. My adage always is, whatever you can make in this life, you know, as long as you're making it by honest means, God bless you. Make what you can as much as you can. But the people that help make the big people who they are, you basically crapping on them.
Yeah, that's the toughest.
And it's
part.
sad. It really is sad, dude.
It is, no question. All right, let's get a timeout, Derek. Let's come back. We're going to talk to our guy, Seth Joyner. Looking forward to talking to Seth, get his thoughts on the Eagles defense and the outlook for this upcoming season. So don't go anywhere. Seth with us when we come back. He's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Bravo Pizza of Havertown is a sponsor of the station, and we're thrilled. We're thrilled that they're a part of Sports Take and JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. They've been family-owned since 1985. I've been going there since then. Alex and his crew are just the best. Open 7 days a week. Fresh food daily. How about the flour flown in from Italy? Yeah, they do not mess around. They offer 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. I go to the Upside Down every single time. That's my favorite. But they have the you name it, we'll make it. You call up, put a request in for a certain style of pizza. They will specialize it your way. But they don't just do pizza. They do pasta. They do sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads. Bravo's also committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charities, schools, little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. In fact, they raised money for the Eagles Autism Challenge a couple of weeks back. You can follow them at the Bravo Pizza of Havertown on Instagram or Facebook for daily specials, promotions of the menu. 1305 Westchester Pike in the Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center, Havertown. Or give them a call, 610-446-3810. 610-446-3810. Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
Weather forecasting is a team game.
We rely on each other every day, updating the models and passing along new critical information.
We have a team of 5 experienced meteorologists and a specialized weather producer, Paul. Say hi, Paul.
Sometimes what I see in the model, Cecily could see something different.
That's when we come together as a team to make our most accurate prediction.
And all of this backed by more than 100 AccuWeather scientists. It's a team game.
And we have the best team in town.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Celebrating the life of your loved one is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. When the matriarch of the Dalloway family died suddenly at 82 years old, Life Celebrations by Givenish stepped in.
They will make this the easiest thing that I know it's not easy, but they will make this as easy as possible.
Life Celebrations by Givenish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
I just know that my dad, who is in charge of everything, was not in charge of anything at that point when my mom passed. And again, just another shout out to this place for making it easy.
Turning tragedy into a celebration of life, no matter how hard, is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. Life Celebrations by Givenish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
EAGLES, Eagles.
All right, we're back. Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis. We are joined by our next guest who played for the Eagles from 1986 through 93. He is a Super Bowl champion. He is a two-time second-team All-Pro, 91 and 92, three-time Pro Bowler. He's on the Philadelphia Eagles 75th anniversary team and their Hall of Fame, and should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The one and only Seth Joyner. Seth, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
What's happening, gents?
Seth, all good. Always a good day when we get to talk to you, my man.
Absolutely. Hey, Seth, I got to ask you. I know we're going to talk Eagles, but I got to ask you this because this has been brought up a number of times, and I'm on board with this. And I've told you this to your face many times. Does it bother you that you haven't been given your just due in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
No, it can't bother you. I think, when it comes to the Hall of Fame, my contention has always been that, you have outside sources that are validating your worth, whether you deserve to be there or not. That's always a tricky thing when you have objective minds, that say this guy is worthy, this guy isn't, that guy isn't, So, I was on with Dan Sileo a couple of days ago, and I told him, I'll tell you guys the same exact thing. I didn't fall in love with football for any accolades at all. To be honest with you, I really didn't know a whole lot about the Hall of Fame, when I first became a professional, athlete. It wasn't something that was on my radar. And I never played to be, a Hall of Famer. I never played. I just played because I loved the game, and I played the game, to maximize my talents and my ability and to live my dream of being, a professional football player.
Okay. Just to stay on that for 1 second, Seth, and I'm going to exclude Reggie White because I'm going to assume that would be your answer. If I'm presumptuous, you tell me. But take Reggie out of it. Most dominant player that you played with.
Oh, wow. That I played with. I'd probably just have to go down the line and go to Jerome.
That's why I see the jersey over your shoulder and just
I just think that if we don't lose him, he's a Hall of Famer. He's already in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he was that good. I don't think people really, cherished or understood how good he actually was, because even in today's game, and this is why I like Jalen Carter so much. At the defensive tackle position, 9 times out of 10, you're either a run stopper or a pass rusher. It's very rare that you find guys like Aaron Donald, Jerome Brown, Warren Sapp, guys like that can do it all. It's very rare. And, Jerome was at the forefront of that. Even before then, I'm trying to think about guys who played before our era, maybe a Howie Long. Guys playing during our era, maybe a John Randall. I'm pulling these names out because, I've had, this conversation before. But if you really stop and think about it, the full boat, the generational defensive tackle, how often do, you see that guy? And, at that time, it was very unusual. He was just that dominant, man.
Yeah, I figured as much. I any kind of Jerome stories I can get, I love. So let's talk. You brought up Jalen Carter, and I know we talked draft night, and we were all pleasantly surprised that he fell to where he fell. Do you expect him to not skip a beat, Seth, and be that guy right away, right out of the chute? Or is it going to take somebody like that a little while to get adapted to the pro game?
Well, I think that, every player, young player who comes into the National Football League has to grow into the role of being a National Football League player opposed to an NCAA player. That's a natural deal. But I think that these players today are better and more equipped to make that transition than they were in my day. Some people will say it's the money. I will say that I believe that, today's athletes are a little more groomed, prepared physically. The college game translates in a lot of ways to the pro game, the way that it's played nowadays. But the fact that, training is different and nutrition is different, and all of these things play a role in how quickly guys can make that transition. I think there'll be a little bit of a learning curve. And I think, if they've got enough depth at the position, you don't have to really rely on him right out the gate. I think that Milton Williams, should be the lead guy, and Milton Williams should be the guy that's the starter. But it wouldn't shock me one bit, to see them throw him right in the fray, after watching him, play a couple of preseason games, because I think he's that good.
Hey, Seth, I look at the influence that Georgia now has on this Eagles defense. And Jordan Davis in particular, he played 26% of the snaps last year, primarily because he had two different sets of injuries that cost him valuable playing time. All right. When you're drafted that high, he's got the 1 year under his belt now, even though it was a limited role. How much more does he have to play to satisfy you in terms of getting a high draft pick on the field to truly showcase what he can or cannot do?
Well, I think the dynamics have changed, from a playing percentage standpoint. I don't think Fletcher Cox plays any more than 55% of the plays.
Right.
I wouldn't expect Jordan Davis, unless you get him down to, 320 pounds, and, you get him in, tip-top shape, and he has his pro body. I wouldn't expect for him to play, any more than 50% of the plays, just because of, his weight. But, they need a lot more production out of him being drafted, and moving up to where they had to move up to get him. That to me is a major issue. I mean, I think you saw where Howie said in the past, well, last year when they were talking in the war room, he got some intel from, some of his scouts that, he doesn't rush the passer. He can't rush the passer. And Howard's response was, well, why? They didn't ask him to do that at Georgia at 355 pounds. That's a lot harder to do. So, therein lies your answer. But I think, it's a misstep at 13 to take him if he can't evolve into a pass rushing defensive tackle. He can't, you couldn't move up to 13 and trade what you trade to go up and get him for him just to be a first and second down player. Or the guy that fits into your 50 front, when you're struggling to stop the run on first and second down in your 40 front. So, we'll see. We'll see. I think that, this rotation thing that these teams are doing now, I think that they feel like, I think the sports science and all that kind of stuff says that, when guys get over a certain percentage of plays and so on and so forth, that the analytics say that the probability of injury goes up. I think all of these factors, factor into, how much a player actually plays, which is like insane to me, because offensive linemen play every damn play.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, we act like they're not doing anything out there. You know, those guys said, let's go right into your wheelhouse, man. Nakobe Dean at the middle linebacker spot. We didn't see him. We saw him special teams. We didn't see him much as a player. The Eagles had, guys in front of him. He said he said he wanted to play last year. He understood, but he's ready to roll. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? How good do you think he can be? And are you trusting in that?
Well, I was impressed by the little bit of playing time that he got. The one thing the kid does is he's around the football. He makes plays. I don't think the passing game is going to be so much of a struggle or an issue for him, so much more than the running game is going to be, especially in their 40 front. The Eagles struggled to stop the run last year when teams really wanted to run the football. I think they ranked like 18th, 19th, somewhere along there. Most people say, oh, but that's middle of the road. But, the same issues that plagued them and we talked about last year, as good as they were on defense, is the same things that cost them, the Super Bowl. Because in my opinion, Kansas City came out with a mindset to stop to run the football in the second half.
Right. And
that spurred their offense, on to being able to do what we witnessed them doing, scoring 4 to 6 times in the second half. I don't care. You can talk about 70 sacks all you want, but if you can't get down to holding teams, if you're not a top 5 team, in my opinion, versus the run, you're going to experience some problems, because if teams can start running the ball, then that's going to open up their play action passing in their passing game the way that it did in the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid was masterful at creating that. So I think that one of the things that, that I'm really looking for to see from Nakobe Dean is how he fits, in the run defense, particularly in the 4-man front, because you can hide him in the 5-man front. There's things that you can do. You can give him one gap when you got 5 guys across the board. One gap to float, play to you. You're responsible for one gap. Play away. You're flowing to the ball. You have no gap responsibility. That's easy. But when you get into your 4-man front, you always have 2 gap responsibility. You've got a gap on the play side and you've got a gap on play away before you can actually flow to the ball, going outside. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's going to be the thing that I'm going to be watching the most, is how he handles the run. And I think one of the reasons why, the Eagles have struggled so much against the run is because they don't have great playmaking linebackers. And you can talk about TJ Edwards and all his ability to get guys lined up. That's great. You got to have a guy that can do that. You can talk about, the 130, 40 tackles last year. That's great. But do you have playmakers there? Do you have guys that can fill gaps and fill holes and know where they're supposed to fit? And I would tell you that, a lot of TJ Edwards tackles were tackles down the field after 4 or 5 yards, in the running game. You got to be able to build a wall at the line of scrimmage and be able to stop people for 1-2 yard gains, no yard or minus tackle for a loss. And you just didn't see a lot of that from the linebackers last year.
Seth, this team was able to bring back the likes of Bradbury, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, which surprised us in a lot of ways. They lost the top 5 tacklers on defense. So when you take into consideration, they brought back some of the old guard, you have an influx of new young kids coming in, and you have a new defensive coordinator plus a multitude of coaches on the defensive side of the football. How long do you think, especially with the limited amount of practices, they're not even having a mandatory camp now. So it's OTAs, training camp, game. How long do you think it'll take before it meshes, the coaches understanding how to use their personnel and the personnel understanding their role within the structure of Sean Desai and Matt Patricia's defensive scheme?
Well, Degon, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was just talking about this the other day. A lot is going to have to do with how much of the terminology, how much of the scheme from Jonathan Gannon and what he used, being a guy, being a Vic Fangio guy, how much of that can be applied, picked up, deciphered, and digested early. Because, you go back to last year, none of the starters played in the preseason. The team got off to a good start because, you know, they pretty much had some cream puffs at the beginning of the year, but it took a little bit of time for the defensive side of the ball to find its bearings and to, you know, kind of figure out what their identity was going to be. They don't have such luck this year in the scheduling, and they got a target on their back, having just gone to the Super Bowl, you know, and dominated the National Football Conference. So it's tough. It's tough. I know that, you know, coaches have their own coach speak, their own verbiage, their own, you know, way of doing things.
Yep.
And a lot will depend on how quickly they evolve in the preseason, how quickly they evolve in training camp. Because like you said, they just don't have the time that's necessary, you know, to be able to grow as a unit. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that was made in the collective bargaining agreement is there's always, you know, going overboard. I understand why they wanted to, you know, take away from the coaches the ability to say when a guy involuntary, voluntary, you know, off season. Because there were coaches out there that were taking advantage of it and pushing guys too hard, too much, requiring that they be there. If they weren't there, you know, they probably wasn't going to be on the roster later on. Then you have to look at the other side. It's detrimental to the young guys because that means the young guys can't be around their coaches to actually learn what it is that they need to learn. You know, if Jalen Hurts wants to come in and work with his quarterback coach, even if he wants to, he's not allowed to. To me, that's nonsensical. You know, if players want to get better and the coaches are part of what can help make them get better, just as long as they're there because they want to be there, then what's the issue? You know, they always go overboard every single time that they fix something. There's this overstepping reach, you know, that you see. I know for me, the most critical time in my career was that first off season. I mean, I was there at the facility from the end of February through June, and every coverage, we just went through everything. We watched film, we lift weights, we did field work, we did everything, anything that you can imagine. And that's what, you know, helped my growth really take off in year 2 and year 3, was because all of those fundamental things, you know, we had time to work on. I didn't have to go find someone off campus to work with. I didn't have to, you know, work on it on my own. I had the coach's eyes looking at what I was doing and telling me what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong so I could make the corrections, you know, and ingrain it.
Makes sense. Is there anything on that side of the ball other than what we discussed, but be it safety or anywhere else that you're concerned with, Seth, as we go into the season?
I'm concerned with safety because, you know, they're unproven. The two areas where I'm concerned on the defensive side of the ball is the linebackers, obviously, and I'm concerned at safety. Now, they've got enough at both positions, I think, to create all the competition that one would need. And I love competition. It's one thing that Nick Sirianni is big on. I think you're going to have massive competition at the running back position. I think you're going to have massive competition at the linebacker position. And I think at the safety position. And the cream should rise to the top, and you should find the top guys at those positions, you know, that are going to get the lion's share of the playing time. But until I can see what that looks like, it remains, and it's going to remain a concern for me.
Seth, last question for me, because I know you got to get going, but I do believe this Eagles team is deep enough and good enough to win the division again and break that jinx of not having a team in the NFC East win the division back to back. But do you think when you look at the schedule, they're good enough to win 14 games again?
Well, that little murderous row stretch of 5 games after the bye week, you know, that's concerning. So if they can get to that point and still be healthy or just be recovering from any kind of injuries that they potentially could have, then I say, yeah. I think that they have the ability, they have the potential, they have everything you need to win 14 plus games again.
Okay.
For me, the question is going to be, it always comes down to injuries. Right. Because if you lose a guy like Jalen Hurts for like 5 games, if you lose a AJ Brown, if you lose a Dallas Goedert, if you lose a Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, if you lose one of those guys or 2 of those guys for an extended period of time, then you're going to have some issues, because now you're asking the guys that back them up to come in and be who they are, and they're just not. There's a reason why guys are backups and guys are starters. But they have all the talent in the world, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Yep. What has changed on the offensive side of the ball? I mean, they were one of the most prolific offenses, in the National Football League last year, number 2. By the time they got to the Super Bowl, they were tied with Kansas City for number 1 in offensive production last year. So there's no change over there, other than the fact that, we got to figure out who the right guard is going to be, and whether you can overcome, any kind of knick-knack injuries that might, keep this team, that side of the ball from doing what they're doing. And JM just chimed in the running back room. Yeah, well, I mean, you got enough there that's going, between Gainwell, who came on at the end of the year, DeAndre Swift, and Penny, and then you got the giant killer. There's going to be so much competition there that you're going to get the best of the best out of that position.
Yep.
I love Seth's a great guest because he also reads the chats. It's perfect, man. Seth multitasks while he's the guest on the show. He is a veteran, man.
You know what it comes from? It comes from doing my own podcast by myself, which, by the way, I'm going to start back up this year.
Nice.
Doing my own podcast myself, not having a producer behind the scenes that feed me questions, but I'm reading the questions as I'm doing the show live. And picking and choosing which one I'm actually going to put up to answer. So I've learned how to multitask, man.
I hear you. Well, listen, we appreciate you squeezing us in. I know you got a lot going on, Seth. We're looking forward to talking to you down the line, man. We're getting closer. Not that far away. It's almost June, my man. I appreciate it.
Anytime, man. I apologize for, only being able to give you guys 25 minutes, man. But we'll do it again. Let me know.
Absolutely. Take care, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Take care. Have a good day. All right, take care. That is Seth Joyner. Always insightful, Gunner. Always bringing. He is right. Like he brings up the some of the collective bargaining stuff, with the players. Like if Jalen Hurts says, "Man, I really want to work with Brian Johnson today. I know it's April, but I want to get some work in on certain things." Yeah, as long as guys like I get it, where coaches and organizations could pressure a guy into doing things they maybe don't want to, right? But that to me seems a little bit, if you're, I don't know how you do it, how you would regulate it, but it feels like they should be able to do that if they want to. It could just help these guys get better.
Well, see, Seth brought up a valuable point. The teams abused the privilege for so long.
Yeah.
That players were like just worn down by the time you went from off season to mini camps to mandatory OTAs to training camp to the regular season. And there had to be a balance. The players had to fight back. You're asking us to do more, and the amount of games keeps expanding. We went from 12 games as a kid to 14, 16, now 17, and they're still talking about the possibility of an 18-game schedule. That's not off the table completely yet, which is great from a fan's perspective, but from a football player's perspective, you're killing these guys, man. So their way to fight back was, well, if you're not going to give us certain concessions in the next bargaining agreement, then we need to have this at least. We need to have time to heal.
Yeah.
You want us to perform at our best and to cut down on all these injuries. You need to give us something in return. And of course, when the NFL compensated, when they didn't give the players the exact money they wanted, their compensation was, okay, we'll back off on your practicing. Now, I guarantee you, like you said, there's Jalen Hurts and a lot of players that wish they could officially practice more, especially younger players or players making a transition from one NFL team to another to get better acclimated with the situation. But there's a lot more players that are taking advantage of this to actually get their bodies ready for what's to come. We talk about the significant increase in the injuries, but if you look at the way training camps and things are structured now, players are at least healthier mentally and physically than they've ever been,
right?
Because of how the management and ownership and coaches have been forced to back off how much they use these guys on the field.
the thought is right. Like the thought process is right. Like the intent is there for all the right reasons to not abuse these guys and to help these guys along. And, and hopefully we'll start to see the benefits of this when these guys retire, and guys who are currently playing retire. They're maybe not quite as in bad health as some of the guys in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, et cetera. You hope. I mean, it's a violent game. There's only so many things you can do. But you hope so. You hope that's the case. And let me just grab this. So Game 7 situation.
Yeah.
Please get Rob and Gunnar to read the chats because we actually care and support these guys. We do read the chats, guys. And we will pull up a lot of the comments at Game 7. I don't know if you're new to the show, but we absolutely read the chats, acknowledge the chats, and pull the chats up. If there's a valid question or point or something, I'll either bring it up with the guest, or we'll bring it up as a show, or I'll pull up the comments. We do it all the time. So we do absolutely value the support that we get. So for whatever it's worth. So just wanted to put it out there.
Yep, absolutely. I haven't seen Game 7 before, so I'm assuming it's new to the show.
Yeah. So, but that is how we operate. We appreciate and acknowledge everybody who takes the time to hang out with us. So it's all good. But no, it was great getting his insights on that. And I think he shares a lot of the same concerns we share. What's it going to look like from a linebacking and safety perspective? I think the other parts, defensive line is going to be fine. They may not get the same number of sacks, but the defensive line is going to be fine. I think the corners are going to be fine, but it really comes down to those two positions, safety and linebacker, and how quickly they acclimate, how quickly Sean Desai puts his fingerprints on this thing and they're able to play well, because they have to play well early, with this schedule.
And I think, and we've talked about our questions about the linebacking and the safety position.
Yeah.
You don't think these better passing teams are going to try to exploit that all day long? The Kansas Cities, the Buffaloes, they're going to exploit that all day long if the Eagles don't have an answer for it.
Right.
So that is a major concern. That could be the difference between winning and losing some of those key games. And we applaud the Eagles for having a very deep and talented roster on paper. But if that is your Achilles heel, even a mediocre team is going to be a lot closer to you in game situations. We talked all season long about, as good as that defense was, teams that passed killed them over the middle of the field, whether it was a tight end, a slot receiver. Those teams were killing the Eagles in that aspect of the passing game, especially when Avonte Maddox went down. When you didn't have him in the slot covering the slot receiver, man, was that a deficiency in their pass defense. If the front seven or front four couldn't get home, it was just up and dink and dump up and down the field against this Eagles defense. And I can see more of that if they don't have a definitive answer this year for it.
Yeah, I think, look, I really believe that this offense is going to be awesome. I agree with Seth. I think they're a top 3 offense, but there's a lot of pressure on this offense early. There is. Like, they're going to have to really come out ready to rock and roll against these teams and score a lot early, because I think the defense is going to be playing catch up. So they're going to have to be on point right away. I think the defense will find its footing as we go. And hopefully when they hit that stretch that we're talking about out of the bye, which is really tough, they're ready to go by then. But I'm not sure they're going to be ready to go early. I think it's going to take a little bit.
I do too, because of all the new personnel, especially from a coaching structure on the defensive side. That offense has no excuse for not hitting the ground running. The only change on that offense is the right guard position. Everybody else is back, And so there's no matter how limited the practice time is for the offensive personnel, they know each other. They succeeded at a high level last year. In many cases, they were virtually unstoppable. I expect them to come out and be raring to go from day one.
I do too. I mean, think about it. Look, I'm not downplaying Isaac Seumalo, who was a nice player, but I think they'll figure that out, especially with the people around him and with the coach, the offensive line coach that they have. I think the running backs, it's a matter of staying healthy. The nice thing is you have 4 guys that you feel good about, essentially 2 guys in Boston Scott and Gainwell who are backups who are really good and capable. So I think they're going to be fine offensively. I think Devontae Smith spoke about this yesterday. I don't think it's bragging if you back it up, and I believe him. He thinks he's one of the premier wide receivers in the game, and I think he's going to be that much better because he has gotten stronger. this upcoming season. I think he's going to be really good for them. And I think same thing. AJ Brown's still 25.
Yes.
We forget how young these guys are.
Yeah. In a game like football, you have to have a certain amount of confidence, and maybe it even borderlines cockiness. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a problem one iota with Devontae Smith saying that. Look at the numbers he put up in year 2 compared to his rookie campaign.
Right.
And I expect him to be even better this year, even if he still is slight of build, even if he doesn't put on weight. He's already shown he can take the hits. He can survive the duration of a season. And I expect him having another year with Jalen Hurts to be even better this year.
Yeah.
So if he feels like he's one of the best elite pass catchers in the game, more power to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times football is more mental than it is physical. If you don't think you can do it physically, a lot of times you can't get it done. It starts with your mental approach to the game. And he's right where he needs to be mentally in terms of approaching another season in the National Football League.
Absolutely. So the offense should be one that is, bless you, comes out of the chute really, really strong. All right. Let's hit it. Let's come back. We'll mix in a little Sixers. So here's what we're going to do in our NFL segment at 2:00, Derek. Looking forward to this. We're going to get into quarterback storylines, meaning Russell Wilson, can he regain his form with Sean Payton? Deshaun Watson, who we hardly talk about now. What's that going to look like in Cleveland? Is Justin Fields ready to take that next step to the next level? What is Jordan Love? Will Goff and Geno Smith, for example, follow up monster years last year with good years again? We'll jump around a little bit to some of the quarterback stories around the league. Obviously, we do Hurts all the time, so we'll move on to some other guys, but we'll hit all that when we come back. So don't go anywhere. Come back a little Sixers and a little Phillies. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis on this beautiful Thursday. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group because, let's think about it. You work really hard and you want to be set up and taken care of the right way later in life. You want to be able to invest with someone that you trust. I trust Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. You will too, and he will be an absolute unbelievable resource for you going forward for all the important stuff. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you might have a small business and you're, looking to get your employee benefits off the ground. That's another resource that he can help you with. I know I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You can email him as well, Murray, Murray, .jim@principal.com. That's Murray.jim@principal.com.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at Dry Tech. At Dry Tech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give Dry Tech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
What's up, everybody? Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn, hanging with you on this Friday Eve, Thursday. What got big Memorial Day weekend plans, Gunner? What do we have going on?
Nothing really, just casual family stuff. Working around the patio deck, putting up some shades on the pergola and stuff like that. But we'll cook out. Haven't decided. My wife wants to do like a chuck roast in a smoker or either in the Traeger smoker as well. Haven't decided yet. I don't make decisions like that. For me, I'd rather just do burgers and dogs.
Okay,
you know?
I would.
Now, my wife and them, they like to take it to another level. So I don't know what's in store, but as you know, I'm prepared. I got 5 grills, so I'm prepared to do whatever they want to do.
Well, that's why you being as skilled as you are on the grill hurts you. Yes. There's higher expectations.
Yes.
There's more that needs to be done out there. I'm a basic ham and egger, man. I'm out there burgering it and hot dogging it, and it's good enough for me. It works. There's no way. I set the bar low, Derek.
Well, after you almost set a gas grill on fire, I understand why.
That's true.
But it's supposed to be in the 70s all weekend, and you know me, the warmer it is, the more I love being outside. So that's perfect for me, to be outside in the elements, working in the yard, working on the patio deck. So I'm looking forward to it. Some people are like, oh, it's too hot to do this. No, it's never too hot for me to do anything.
No, I like it, man. I like the warm. I'm looking at the forecast. So yeah, we're 73, 75, 77, 80. That's what we're getting the next 3-4 days.
There you go.
Pretty sweet. All right. Sixers. So you try to read between the tea leaves of all these insiders, right, and what they're reporting. So Brian Windhorst of ESPN said a couple things. He said that the Sixers, from what he's hearing, don't have the appetite to give Harden a max deal. Harden selling, and he also feels like Harden is selling the idea that Houston is interested a little bit too hard from what he's hearing around basketball circles. So I think what's happening is Harden's getting the sort of initial negotiating pushback from the Sixers a little bit, where maybe they're either offering 3 years or 2 years at less money than maybe he wants. And he's, dangling, hey, Houston's offering me this, so you guys better up your ante here. This is where I hope that Daryl Morey stays true and either says, hey, if that's what they're offering you, great. Wish we could have done something. We can't. Mm-hmm. Nice knowing you. Mm-hmm. Or he sticks to his guns. This is all we're offering. 2 years, take it or leave it. The problem is I think he will give in because of, their relationship, because how friendly they are.
If this is a marketing ploy on James Harden and his representations side, it has been a very consistent marketing ploy because it started in December around Christmas. And the rumors, and the rumors have continued to trickle out throughout the latter half of the season and into the playoffs. At some point, somebody's going to call the other's bluff. And I hope it's not the 76ers buckling in this situation out of the fear that, man, we actually could lose James Harden. If James Harden gets a max contract from Houston, hey, thank you for your contributions. Good luck to you down in Houston with a rebuilding organization. Plain and simple. Knowing that the Sixers could be worse off in his absence, as crazy as that sounds. I'd much rather see them free that money up and bite the bullet.
Yep.
And weather the storm of an upcoming season that could be mediocre, and then have more cap space next year to rebuild this thing the right way. Hopefully with James with Joel Embiid still in the fold. Mm-hmm. But I'm not giving Harden a max contract. And I understand, him and Morey are like Batman and Robin. I get that. I get your relationship. But at some point, business sense has to take over friendship. It really does in this case. Because if not, you're going to be behind the 8 ball for the next 3 to 4 years.
Right. Yep. I just feel, I said this to you yesterday, Derek, and I'll say it again. I just feel doomed here with this setup. Part of it is the not knowing. You don't know who the coach is going to be, but more than anything else, I don't feel good about Harden going forward. I don't feel great about Embiid going forward, and they don't have any money or draft picks. It's hard to get, it's hard to see this thing in a positive light right now for me. Really hard. And I can usually find a way to convince myself.
With or without Harden, it looks like a doomed situation either way.
Yep.
But you being the Philadelphia fan that you are, and Sixers fans in general have to come to this realization. Do you feel better doomed with or without Harden? Because either way, you have nothing. You have no space, no wiggle room. You have nothing.
Yeah.
So you're basically status quo. Minor tweaks, lower tier here, there, maybe. Hopefully you find an Austin Reeves, a diamond in the rough for 1 year somewhere, okay,
yeah.
From the G League. Maybe you find a G League diamond in the rough. But outside of that, it is what it is. And I know not just we here on Sports Take, but across every platform that covers the Sixers, TV and radio, they're talking about the same thing. Podcasts, talking about the same thing. The dilemma the 76ers are in. The uncertainty of the head coach. And when you do get this new head coach, is he the motivator? Is he the right motivator to push this team to another level with or without James Harden?
Yeah.
And I think the consensus is like you. Let's move on without James and let's see where it takes us. And then we'll regroup next year and see how much we can improve this thing. But as of right now, I don't want to see. I'm done with James Harden. Nice game. It's just that the game that you play has run its course here in Philadelphia. For the money that you could command, it's run its course here in Philadelphia. Take your game, move on, and be happy in life.
And look, it's not. It is complicated because the problem is even with the step back next year. If we're assuming that Harden leaves, the problem with the step back next year is, what does that do to Embiid? Does Embiid then one out? And did you miss out on a chance to maybe move him this offseason? You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah.
It's a tough thing, especially in that league, because guys get jumpy. They're not looking to stick around forever. It's rare that you get like a Damian Lillard situation where or Bradley Beal, where they just want to stay with those teams. Usually guys say they want out if it's not working out. And it's not that Embiid's only been here for 5 minutes. So, what's next year going to be, like his 10th year or something like that? He's been here a long time.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a tough call. That's what I mean by they're in a really precarious spot right now.
Yeah. And I don't blame players for wanting to jump around and put themselves in better positions, win-loss wise and financially.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. That's what the league is now. As an athlete, you're nothing more than a commodity. Very few of you get to finish in the place you start anyway. So why not have more of a control in terms of where you can go and what you can do? This opportunity, whether you're in a league 2 years, 10 years, or 15 years, is a once in a lifetime opportunity to maximize your marketability, both as an athlete and in the marketing field, commercials, jobs outside of what you do in your prime profession. So I have no problem with that one iota. It hurts when you're a fan of a certain team. You see this constantly happening. It hurts. It hurts you because you don't want to see certain people go, but you have to accept it. You just have to hope that you have the right brain trust in the front office to make the necessary and the right decisions to keep this thing moving in a positive manner.
Yeah, because like we talk about, you see teams And you understand you don't have to have all the talent in the world if you're built the right way and you have the right kind of guys.
Right.
The Heat are the perfect example. Now, Celtics did it differently. A lot of that was through the draft, a couple trades here and there, Brogdon and whatnot. But there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. But the Heat are a great example of just finding those right people and developing them once they get into your system.
Right.
And I do worry about that part of it too. Like, where have all those kind of players been? What's Morey been here? 3 years, or right around 3 years?
Yeah.
We haven't seen a lot of that. I mean, he did a really good job. I guess was he here for the Maxey pick? I believe he was. But we haven't seen a lot of that type of player that was, he was in the G League, or they developed this guy, or who's on a 2-way contract, and look how well he's playing for them. Like, there's been a few, like B-Ball Paul's turned himself into a decent backup center as a second rounder, but not much else, frankly.
Yeah. How did it go so bad? How did it go so bad, Rob? We applauded the fact that they made all these changes last year.
Yeah.
Start off slowly, picked up steam, carried it into the playoffs. And yet they get to the second round and they hit that wall and it all unravels. The same players, the supporting role players, we applauded.
Yeah.
Okay. Were the same players that unraveled when it counted most.
Mm-hmm.
And now we look ahead questioning if those same pieces we applauded are the same pieces we're going to have to endure another season watching again.
Well, I mean, look, let's face it. Harden, when you traded for him, obviously you had to move on from Ben Simmons, and you got a guy in here who has Hall of Fame credentials, but you also knew he was bad in a lot of playoff games. He came up small. You also knew that, it could end poorly if things didn't go well. Now, he didn't do any of that kind of stuff where he dogged it or any of that. But as JM mentioned in the chat, Embiid is a hard piece to build around too. He's a center, even though he can certainly hit a jump shot. There's no doubt about that. But he's a center in a league that's really wing and guard oriented now. So you have to challenge. There's a challenge to building that around him. It's not an easy thing to do. So I think there's that. And, the other problem is, Derek, it gets back to, they haven't drafted well enough collectively over the years. Maxey is as fun as he is and as talented as he is, has some limitations. He doesn't play good defense. He's really got a point guard's body, but he's not a point guard. PJ Tucker's so limited offensively, and he's an older player. Tobias Harris has disappointed massively. Nobody liked that contract when they gave it to him. I guess that's a long answer to a short question, but I think it's a lot of different things, and there's no bench help, or at least very little.
Are you surprised that there seems to be a growing number of people who are now saying, move on from Embiid? Are you at that point yet, or do you still want to give this organization a chance to build around Embiid a little bit more?
I'm not at the point of wanting to trade him, but I understand where people are coming from, because their thought process is he's either going to be broken down when you get through the 82 games, or when you come to a really big game and things don't necessarily go his way, he's going to check out. And if that's the case, you're really ultimately just wasting your time. Like, I get it why people feel that way. My only hope is, and this is nothing more than hope, is that maybe this year serves as a wake-up call to him that, everybody questions your heart in big spots, and he comes back with a vengeance in the playoffs going forward. But if you're asking me, do I think it's more likely that he comes up small in a big spot than comes up big? I think it's more likely he comes up small.
See, I like Nick 215 comment where he says, if Denver can build around Jokic, Sixers can do the same. I agree. But the problem is they haven't done it sufficiently enough. How many years have we had an opportunity to build around Embiid? And they haven't done it well enough to make the product better. It's been good. Let's face it, it's been consistently good now for several years, but it hasn't improved to where you're getting closer to your ultimate goal. So what do you do now at this stage of Embiid's career?
Yeah.
Do you have to take 2 steps back and basically start the process again? So what do you do at this point with him?
Well,
and I understand fans' frustrations why they want to move on from Embiid as well. I get that. But I don't know if it's the right move at this point, because if you move on from Embiid, then you're really going to become one of those lower tier NBA teams, and fans are going to cringe at that.
Too, like the comp, I get the size comp because they're both centers with Embiid and Joker, but Joker's a much better playmaker for those around him. And look, the Sixers don't have a Jamal Murray too. Let's be really clear about that. They don't. But Joker makes people, I think, is better at making players around him better than Embiid is. He's a point center. That's not Embiid. It's just not who he is. It doesn't mean Embiid isn't. The guy was the MVP. But I truly believe that Joker, it's a little easier to utilize him in this day and age than it is Embiid. A little bit. I think that's one of the differences.
Well, I'm sitting here trying to be optimistic, Rob, but to be honest with you, I think this team next year is going to be a middle of the road team, to be honest with you. And they might win 40-something games. They should.
Yep.
If they keep the exact same roster, at the very minimum, they should win 45 games. But when you've been to the playoffs 3 consecutive years, and you haven't inched a step, the first step is to build a team that can get to the playoffs. They did that. Next phase is to win a round. They did that. And then all of a sudden it's plateaued now. Consecutively can't get past the second round. So the natural progression from a managerial standpoint is sit back. How do we make this product better? But the Sixers have put themselves in such a financial restraint. They can't go anywhere. They have nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you expect the fans to come out and pay good money, parking, concessions, buying the team's jerseys, fill the arena, and you're going to put a mediocre product on the court again next year. That's what fans have the biggest problem with, is there's no vision. I don't think if people are honestly being honest with themselves, there's no vision right now, and I'm one of them, of this team, as I look at it on paper, being a better team in 23-24.
I also think, Derek, I think this may be a loss that's hard to come back from. When you go out like they went out, and they've done this now for a few years, but this was like, prime time example of what we're talking about.
Yes.
I don't know, man. Like we're assuming they're just gonna be able to bounce back.
I don't think so, Rob.
Yeah.
I don't think so, Rob. There's too many other factors now. Other teams are going to get better, be more competitive. You're not going to be dominating certain opponents like you did this past season.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that we don't talk about is the health factor of Embiid. He's like walking wounded every other week.
Yeah.
Look at how many games he missed in the regular season. Look how he limped through the playoffs once again. Another knee injury. If it's not a hand, it's a knee injury. He's getting older, not younger. These little things that he had to navigate through become more profound every time you get older. And let's face it, my mindset is you're not going to have Embiid X amount of regular season games, and you got to hold your breath and cross your fingers and hope he can be there upright and breathing for the playoffs if you get in the playoffs again, and be better health-wise than he was the previous 3 years.
Right.
That's asking a lot.
Yeah, it is.
That's asking an awful lot.
And like we talk about all the time, he's 30 going on 35.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, look, it feels like a lot of signs are pointing to getting out in front of this, making a move rather than waiting a year too long. It does feel like that. But we'll see. We'll see, Derek. It's gonna be interesting. Daryl Morey's got a lot of work in store for him. I will tell you that much, man. You can be earning his bucks this offseason. And the biggest thing is going to be the coach. You get Nick Nurse. I think you will. I think there will be people willing to give you some benefit of the doubt if you can land him. But if it's a Mike D'Antoni, I'm telling you, it's going to be ugly. It will not be pretty.
Ooh, now I just picked up this comment from our producer Tone. Now this is interesting. I know you guys have your thoughts on Maxey, but I believe he can become the Jamal Murray to Joel Embiid. I'm willing to bet he makes a big jump going into next season. Ooh,
all right. I'll respectfully
Jamal
disagree.
Murray.
I just don't think he can
that.
shoot it.
No.
And believe me, Tyrese really improved his shooting, but I don't think he can shoot it quite the way that Jamal Murray can shoot it, which makes him so unbelievable. I don't
think he can take over a game the way Murray can.
I don't either. And I love Tyrese.
Yeah, I do too. I love his game. His ability to drive at the accelerated rate he drives that is second to none.
Yeah.
The way he uses the glass, the soft touch off the glass, his ability to get a defender on his hips and just blow by him. I love everything about Tyrese Maxey, but I don't think he could ever be Jamal Murray to Joel.
Like I think of Jamal Murray sort of in the light of Devin Booker, like in that sort of mode. And I just think, and granted, Maxey's only 22, but I think he's just a click below that, whatever that level, and that's still pretty darn good. Like that's an all-star level player, I think.
Yes.
But it's just a click below that in my estimation. Not far off, just a tiny little bit right now. Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's hit some Phillies, Derek, and their comeback, and then we'll get into the Eagles coming up. Eagles and NFL at 2:00. So we'll do all those kind of things when we come back. Don't go anywhere. He's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I'm going to tell you right now about Pro Action Restoration, because if you have a home, you have a business, you have a property, and unfortunately, you go through that pain, that inconvenience, and that just mental stress of fire, water, smoke, mold damage, you don't really know where to turn to. You don't know how to clean that up, who to reach out to, but I got the people for you to reach out to. It's Pro Action Restoration because they're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. That means Saturday, Sunday, holiday weekend, nighttime, whatever the case may be, they're available to come out and assist you. I went through it on a Saturday and they got right out, cleaned up the problem. The crew was professional. The price was right. It was everything you would expect out of just a first-class organization. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action Restoration will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So again, any of the above and then some: water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it, they can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save at Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
All right, I want to read you a nice message that we got sent from Brendan, who's in the chat section, serves in the chat section. Good, strong follower of the show, and we appreciate it. He said, "Sports Take is like two guys sitting in a bar chatting sports. Comment sections of the people who come in to said bar and say, 'Yo, D-Gun, yo, Robbie E.' Open up the sports tavern for 3 hours." And he said, "Oh, and D-Gun, I could listen to your dulcet tones, read the phone book." Thank you, Brendan. Very nice of you. And you're muted. There you were so good. You were you were on a roll, man. You were on fire yesterday.
You know what threw me off? In the commercial break, I tried to scarf down some of this, Rob.
You didn't do much damage on there. I don't know.
This is the second one. I had two.
That's the second one.
The second one, I whooped that baby down. This is the second one, man.
I got you.
It threw me off my game, man. I was on a roll for 2 days. And you know, I told you, man, it's a struggle, man. I'm talking to you.
I know.
I'm talking with the chat, and I'm smelling this good food sitting next to me. I got tacos sitting here, refried beans, Spanish rice.
You're torturing yourself. See, that's here's the thing. I know your thought process is, thank you, Niners. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, Niners. Yeah.
So your thinking is, okay, when we go to the break, I got easy access. It's right there. Boom, boom, boom,
Yes.
boom, boom, down.
Yes.
Problem is, though, when you're sitting there trying to lock in on the show and you got the good aroma of the food and the whole nine, it can tend to distract you sometimes.
That's exactly what happened.
Okay, well, you got to stay focused. Yeah, we're right here, man. Let's go.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
I hear you talking. I hear you talking, but this food keeps saying, D-Gun, you're just ignoring me. You paid good money for this.
I'm the angel on your shoulder, and the food is the devil right now.
Yes, and right now the devil's winning.
Yes, I hear you. I don't blame you. I think I'd be listening to
Stop it.
Yes, I hear you. All right, little Phillies. We mentioned it off the top of the show. So they were down 5-0 in the game. Suarez didn't look good again. He's got a 9.82 ERA in his 3 starts. And something either. I don't know, man. I'm not sure he's fully right. I'll just say that.
So this is his second start since coming back. Oh, his third start.
Yeah.
Maybe it's taken longer than expected for him to find his groove, to get his mojo back.
Yeah, it could.
But 5 innings, 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 85 pitches, gave up a home run. Man, if the starting pitching has been hurting bad enough as it is,
right,
you need Suarez to get his mojo back in a hurry, man, because this thing's not looking good right now. You lose 2, you win 1. You win 2, you lose 2. This is not going to get you where you need to go, where you need to be.
Yeah,
I know. And it's got to pan out. I'm still sticking. As much as I said yesterday, this is not a good team. I don't trust them. I still go back to what I said earlier in the week. Get past the month of May and let's see June get here with that consistent warm weather for June, July, and August and see where we go from there. I'm trying my best. There's too much talent on this team. What we saw from Trey Turner yesterday is exactly what I expect to see from Trey Turner consistently. Even Bryce Harper's not swinging with authority the way he has in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder to what degree the elbows affect him. He's not throwing the ball. He's just hitting. But still, you have an extension with that bat in your hand. And I wonder to what degree he's pressing at the plate as well. So I'm trying, Rob. I'm trying.
I know. Here's the thing. I was on WIP after the game. Okay. And I had I would say I had more callers on my side of my side of the thinking of this, but I'll bounce it off you. So I had a lot of people call up and say, this is the kind of game that's going to get them going. Like, they were dead and buried, and they showed the kind of heart they showed last year when they started, getting on this run, this and that. I'm sorry. Like, I'd like to feel that way, but I've been burned too many times. They'll win. Like, I'll give you an example. Last weekend, when they took 2 of 3 from the Cubs, I'm thinking, all right, roll that over into this week and let's get it going here. And it's happened like 4 or 5 different times this year where I thought, okay, this is the time. And it never seems to carry over. And the problem too is, Derek, you put yourself in a really difficult spot because you're playing now. It's real. Like, it's Atlanta.
Right.
It's the Mets.
Yep.
And not to say the Diamondbacks hadn't gotten off to a good start. They did, but still, Atlanta's better. And you look at some of the pitching that you could potentially be facing here. It's pretty good. Like, they're going to, on Sunday, they're getting Spencer Strider, who's as nasty as anybody in the league. You could potentially get Scherzer. You're going to get Scherzer most likely on Thursday of next week too. And my point is, like, you're playing way better teams now for the most part. And you haven't been able to string together consistent wins against mediocre to bad teams. So why? I need to see it before I believe it.
The good news is the Mets aren't that much better than the Phillies record-wise. They've had their issues as well. Yeah. The bad thing is Atlanta is that team in the division that we thought they would be.
Yeah.
And you've got to find a way to navigate this. Now, Arizona was a good young team.
Yeah.
They're a growing team, a team that's still finding its identity. They came in here and tattooed this team.
Yep.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
They came in here and tattooed this team. So now you got professionals in Atlanta and the Mets you're going up against next. To me, this is as the month comes to a close, this is a definitive stretch of 7 games for this team. And even if they go 4-3, to me, that's a positive sign.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go anything less than 4-3 over these next 7, that's a major problem.
I know.
That's a major problem. If you can't get more consistency out of Aaron Nola and from Zach Wheeler, and Suarez can't find his groove back, that's a major problem. Because if you look at the record, this has been a team of streaks, ups and down all season long up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
There has been no consistency in anything. Hitting one day, pitching the next, pitching one day, hitting the next. The two have not complemented each other very much this season, which is why they're low to Mendoza line record-wise. You've got to find a way. And you're playing now much better competition, as you said. You've got to find a way to level this thing out and have both entities complement each other a lot better than what it has been up to this point.
Now, from an individual standpoint, again, the thought process for a lot of folks is the same way. That's the kind of hit that'll get Trey Turner going. I'm taking nothing away from Trey Turner. It was a huge hit, and it's a hard thing after you have a terrible at bat to just block it out and do what he did. It was great. Okay. But same thing with him with the team. It hasn't been there all year for you.
No,
I'm not going to all of a sudden buy into one hit and you're going to get going. I think it's easier to get on that plane. Everybody's feeling a lot better. It's a big sigh of relief kind of thing, flying out to Atlanta last night. But sorry. And the other thing is, that was a garbage pitch. Derek, that was a slider that had no movement on it. And frankly, Trey Turner did exactly what he should have done with that ball. And he did it. But
he turned on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, the fact that his previous at bat, he's swinging at a ball that bounced in the dirt before it got to the plate.
Yep.
It tells me that he's all over the place now. He's pressing so much now, that there's no consistency in his swing at the plate because he's trying to do too much because of the money he was paid to come here.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But at some point, you got to find that level, that balance that got you that $300 million to come here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Trey Turner we're waiting to see. Luckily, there's a whole lot more baseball in front of you than behind you. But right now, I'm not there yet. With hitters, one hit does not change everything. It has to be you got to have 3 or 4 games consistently where you're spraying the ball all over the field before I'm going to say, okay, he's out of that slump.
Right.
Because he can do the exact same thing over the next 7 games against Atlanta and the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
1 good at bat, 4 bad at bats, 2 good at bats, 3 bad at bats. That's not it.
No,
it's not it for this team.
It isn't. So standings, here's where things sit right now as they take on Atlanta. Atlanta's in first. Atlanta's 30-19. They won yesterday. The Mets have lost 2 in a row. They're at 500, but they're in second place right now. They're 5.5 back of Atlanta. Then it's the Marlins, who are 5.5 back as well. Then it's the Phillies. Phillies are 23-26. So if you remember, they were 22-29 when they fired Girardi. So they're not really far off of that mark. So we'll see if they can get it together. The encouraging thing is I was looking at the wild card standings.
Yeah.
Do I think the Diamondbacks are going to keep winning at a 580 pace? I don't. And they have good young talent, but I don't. Pittsburgh's really come back to earth after a great start. They're only a game above 500 now. And then you're going to be battling the likes of the Mets and probably the Giants, et cetera. That third wild card changes a lot. Like I still think they're going to be okay, even though I don't love the way this has started. And I'm tired of hearing it's early, just like Bryce Harper is, but still, I think they'll be okay. I do.
What is okay?
Yeah, I mean, is okay.
Yeah, what is okay?
You get in the playoffs and get bounced in the first round. That's not good enough. Not good enough.
And if that's the case, the money you spent to shore up the pitching staff and to improve the hitting, the lineup.
Yeah.
Is the money well spent?
Well, no.
Or was it money well spent?
You paid Trey Turner what you paid him, and the other Taiwan Walker and some of the other Gregory Soto trade. You did those things to win a World Series. You got to Game 6 of the World Series. You did that to win it. You didn't. It's not even a Sixers thing where you got to get past the second round. This team has to win it if you want improvement. Period.
Oh, there's no question about it. We talk about how mediocre supposedly the National League is, but what does that say about the Phillies? They got hammered by the Dodgers. Dodgers are 11 games over 500. They just got hammered by Arizona. Arizona's 8 games over 500. They got hammered by the Giants. The Giants are 1 game below sea level. So if the entire National League is mediocre, what does that say about the Phillies right now, who are 3 games below 500?
Yeah, less than.
You see what I'm saying? So, and these other teams are scoring more runs than the Phillies are as well. So I understand what Barbara Carroll is saying, but if they're that mediocre, when you have a lineup and a roster like the Phillies, it should be a whole lot better than what it has been.
Yeah.
You cannot use the injuries as an excuse because they still have way too much talent on this team to be where they are right now.
I agree. And look, I think everybody wears it. Rob Thompson can't go out there and make Trey Turner get back to being Trey Turner, ultimately, as much as they're working on that. But are there things that he could possibly be doing behind the scenes that would reach these guys a little bit better? I think it's a fair question because let's face it, if any coach or manager, Derek, started this way with the talent and expectation that this team had, we'd be on them. We would. Like, we'd be killing Nick Sirianni if you were, I don't know, how many games would it only be? 3 games in.
Yeah.
But we would be on them. They were 1-2 or 0-3.
Yes.
We beat Doc Rivers up pretty good. So Rob Thompson's fair game. I'm not blaming him completely, but he is fair game for this.
I agree 100%. I mean, look at the pedestal we put him on for what he did with his team last year. You have basically, for the most part, you have the same collection of guys. You've added some improved pieces where you needed to. Kudos to the front office, but you haven't put it together. They keep making the same mental mistakes in the field.
Yep.
Booting balls they shouldn't boot. Miscommunication. Not just one, but a whole collection of guys are swinging the bad pitches. The runner in scoring position stat is just mind-boggling what this team is. Now, you look at a team like Arizona. Their runners in scoring position stats for this series wasn't great, but yet they pushed enough runs across the plate in key situations to get 2 out of 3 from this Phillies team.
Yeah.
And the Phillies in their own backyard have got to find a better way to be more productive when it comes to runners in scoring position. That has been the biggest stickler for me, is that how can they be so bad pushing guys across with this lineup? And even the guys at the bottom, when you start talking about Clemens and Bohm and guys like that, those are guys that are good hitters.
Yeah, they are.
They're not, You know, there are a lot of teams that front load their batting arsenal. The top 4 or 5 batters are the key to your success.
Yeah.
This Phillies line of 1 through 9 can hit.
Yeah, I know. It's frustrating. There's no doubt. It is frustrating. All right, let's switch gears. We're gonna do a heavy NFL in a little bit, but I want to hit you with a couple NFL stories before we get into our NFL segment. So, turns out Jimmy G, Derek, underwent surgery on his injured left foot after signing as a free agent with the Raiders in March. He signed a 3-year, $72 million deal on March 17th. Though the introductory news conference was delayed a day at the time. Josh McDaniels on Thursday wouldn't get into the specifics of this thing, but he underwent a procedure, only saying there were no surprises and the QB would not be on the field for the start of OTAs. He did allow that he might not be able to start the beginning of training camp. Garoppolo's okay. He's fine. He's a fine quarterback, and he doesn't kill you with turnovers or any of that, but and he's hurt a lot. Like, if I'm the Raiders, got a lot banking on this guy.
How did the Raiders medical staff miss this?
I don't know.
See, that's a key in terms of bringing a guy in like that. How did somebody in their medical staff or training staff miss this? He's losing a lot of valuable time getting acclimated to a whole collection of pass catchers. I mean, you look at Devontae Adams. The chemistry he had, not just with Aaron Rodgers, but with his boy Derek Carr, because of their days together in France. You got to get that chemistry down, man. And now you're talking about missing up to a part of training camp.
Yeah.
That does not bode well, especially for a Raiders team that many expected to do a lot better than what they did last year. And Josh McDaniels has some answers as to why it didn't, when you had the weapons you needed to be a much better team, and it didn't pan out that way. Mm-hmm. Now your frontline quarterback may not be there at crucial points of the offseason. That's not good. Not good.
No, it isn't. All right, your boy, Zach Wilson, the
my boy.
Hunter, the MILF hunter himself, his brother Isaac Wilson.
Is he dating older women too?
I don't know, but he's going, I guess he's going into his senior year. He is committed to Utah University. He is an unranked 4-star quarterback out of Corner Canyon High School in Draper, Utah. He was his brother was a 3-year starter there, Zach, before he went number 2 overall in the 21 draft after coming out of Utah. But his brother Isaac is 6 foot 185, threw for 3,700 yards, 40 touchdowns, ran for 695 and 5 touchdowns. He had offers from Arizona, Arizona State, BYU, Miami, and Oregon. So he is headed to Utah.
Isaac, don't let your personal life get public. That's all I can tell you, brother. That's all I can tell you. Don't listen to your brother, whatever you do.
Stick to football, my man.
Hopefully you play a lot better than your brother did.
We'll see. His brother did get paid.
Brother got paid. Brother duped a whole lot of people.
Yes, he did. All right, we talked about this. Former Temple Owl, longtime Denver Bronco kicker Brandon McManus was released by the Broncos earlier this week. He has been signed already. The Jacksonville Jaguars have signed him up.
Not surprised one bit.
Yeah, he's good kicker, man. He'll do well for them. They released Riley Patterson, who was their kicker, but he made almost 78% of his field goals last year. First time since 2017, he made less than 80%. For his career, he's an 81.4% guy with in 9 years total. So he is headed to Jacksonville. Is McManus good signing? Good signing.
Absolutely.
I haven't heard anything further other than the Jets worked out Matt Ariza yesterday. We'll see if the Eagles have any interest or are going to do anything to add to that punter situation. So as of right now, we're not hearing anything on that front, which is kind of strange as far as I'm concerned.
I know Ariza wants to get back into the league in a worse way and restart his career, especially considering what he lost last season. But if he's smart, don't take the first offer that comes your way, because it was obvious in the limited amount of times that you were able to showcase your skills. The dude has a booming leg. He is a howitzer for a leg. Other teams are going to come calling. I would try to sit and wait and play some of these teams and see how much I could get to recoup some of the money that I lost.
Yeah. Davante Adams has had a lot to say in his tenure there in Vegas. Now, he was saying the other day that, he didn't need Aaron Rodgers to be an all-pro, but the other thing that he did was he really vented about the Raiders' direction and how he didn't believe in where they were going. And Josh McDaniels was asked about that. And he said, I respect the hell out of anything that he would say or suggest. During the process of trying to improve our team, I know where Davante stands. He's a competitor. He wants to win, and really his sole focus is on doing this every day and getting better. Look, hard to argue that last year wasn't a mess for the Raiders. So I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to have a lot of pushback there on some of his comments. You hope it doesn't get crazy with Davante Adams, but he really wasn't saying anything all that out of school.
No, he wasn't. And when you put up the kind of numbers he's consistently put up in his career, he has a little bit more leverage to say what he wants to say, more so than a lot of players. When you've played with an Aaron Rodgers and you've had consistent success at that level, you want the same thing. And now he's looking at, you just mentioned, not getting on the same page with his quarterback. It's one thing to sit and look at film together. It's another to get out and get a feel for the timing, the back shoulder throws, and get a timing for when you're going to release the ball to your guy once he makes his break. And Davante Adams is the type of receiver where you don't just hit him on his first break. This dude is so deceptive in terms of what he's going to do. There's a mental timing mechanism that has to be worked on. And if he can't do that with his frontline quarterback, I'm sure it's frustrating the heck out of him. And I also believe that he felt going in that the Raiders had a nucleus to do a lot better than what they did. They had a losing record. I mean, seriously, as bad as that defense was, their offense should have been a lot better. The offense had moments of greatness, but it never leveled out to a consistent level. And you're right, Davante Adams is all about winning. He got his money. He's all about winning now. On paper, this Raiders team looks like it can do some damage, but it didn't pan out last year. And right now, what he's saying basically is, I don't know if we're going in the right direction right now. And to be honest, I don't blame him one bit.
No, I mean, look, I think it's the perception versus the reality. The perception was he was going there to play with his buddy, his college buddy. This was going to be a high, potent offense with him and Waller, who's now with the Giants, and Renfro, who's a possession guy. Josh Jacobs can run the ball. We're going to put up a lot of points. And the whole year was a mess. They were a mess across the board. And now he's staring at the prospect of a new quarterback. They're doing things a little bit differently. They've made some trades and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think he's, probably how it was expressed to him is nowhere near the way this thing went. So he's probably a little ticked off. Plus he's been around for 10 years now, and he knows he's not going to play forever. So he wants to win it.
When you look at his individual numbers, you go, man, this dude can't complain. He had 100 catches.
Yeah.
He had 1,516 yards. He averaged over 15 yards a catch. He had 14 touchdowns. The total yards, receiving yards, was the second best of his entire NFL career.
Yep.
His yards per catch, the best of his NFL career. His touchdown catches, second best of his NFL career. But from his statement, it's not about the individual numbers. It's about the collective direction we're going in. Now, for him to make that comment, you know what's going to happen. There's going to be or I'm sure there already has been, behind the door meetings between him and Josh. Because when your star player speaks out like that, he's not the only one who's thinking that. Players talk. And if he starts to say it, and if things go bad quickly this upcoming season, more and more players are going to voice their frustrations earlier, which is not conducive to trying to keep these guys as a cohesive unit to get better. So you got to be careful, because once a veteran speaks, that opens the door for everybody else to chime in. Because
Agreed.
If he says it, why can't I say it?
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with you.
And that's when the coach loses his authority in a locker room.
All right, we come back full-blown NFL. Part of what we're going to do is NFL quarterback storylines. We'll tell you how many different teams Josh Johnson has played for. Patriots are in trouble again. What a shocker, Derek, that they're not upholding.
Oh, no, not the Patriots.
They're not playing by the rules. Really big surprise there. A lot of other things. A little real estate. We'll get into that also when we come back. You don't want to go anywhere. Trust me when I tell you that. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Flynn Tree Services. Yes, Flynn Tree Services is an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They offer cost-effective solutions to any tree problem that you may face. So if you have any type of issues in your yard or your property, they're just a quick phone call away, and they serve southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and northern Delaware. Flynn Tree Services specializes in tree removal and stump grinding. Now, keep in mind, we're having some really good weather right now. It's a great time to have them come out and evaluate your trees before we hit the summer with the winds and the rain and everything else that goes along with it. All right, go to their Facebook or Instagram page for a sampling of their work or more information. Give Flynn Tree Services a call, 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's flynntreeservices.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Back, hour number 3 of the program, Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. A reminder tomorrow, Gunner and folks, we will have Adam Kaplan. He will be joining us really right out of the chute tomorrow. So,
my bad, bro. I got a text from Adam. He had to cancel until next week. He had a schedule adjustment. My bad for not telling you that.
No worries. All right.
He had to move it back. He had a canceling snafu.
Yeah.
And he said, D-Gun, I apologize to you and Rob, but I'll get you next week. I said, that's cool. No problem.
Good. Okay. All right. But we'll be with you tomorrow. Either way, I'm playing a doubleheader tomorrow, Derek. I will be hosting Birds 365 with John McMullen in the morning at 8 a.m. and then I'll be back with you at noon for our usual spot.
Man, you gonna have any juice left?
Are you kidding, man? I always have juice. Yes, but yeah, doubleheader. Ernie Banks. Let's play 2 tomorrow. Yes. All right. So a couple things. One, I know we're all going to be shocked by this. So the Patriots apparently broke some rules, and they have had to forfeit 2 of their OTAs today and 1 next week. I can't believe that Bill Belichick and that upstanding crew that they have there did something that wasn't above board, Derek. It's shocking.
No, every team stretches the limit. I believe the Patriots are now one of like 6 or 7 teams over the last few years that have been penalized for doing something above and beyond the call of duty, which has cost them OTA time. But because it's the Patriots and because of their history with, Spygate and all this stuff, it's magnified a little bit more.
Yeah.
So the Patriots getting caught with their hand in the cookie jar. No, I'm shocked that the Patriots got caught.
Yeah, we don't know what the violation was right now, but we just know there was a violation of some degree. So saw that one. A couple other odds and ends. So I thought this was interesting from Lamar Jackson. So the Ravens have a new look offense that they hired Todd Monken, who came over from Georgia as a new offensive coordinator. And Lamar Jackson was back at OTAs at OTAs yesterday, and they asked him what this thing was going to look like, and he said, more passing, less running.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think as he gets older and you want to try to have him evolve, I think that's the smart way to go for sure. But I also do think there's a line where you don't want to take away somebody's greatest attribute too. You got to be a little bit careful with this one if you're the Ravens.
Yeah, but you know what? His greatest attribute is what cost him the latter part of the season.
True.
And sometimes you have to protect the player from himself. And as much as he's that dual threat quarterback, having him throw the football more enhances the probability of him being available for more games and not missing 5 or 6 games like he missed last year, especially at the crucial juncture of a season. And let's face it, he's singing the praises of this new look offense. Now, obviously, you got to see how it pans out. You got to implement it on the field. But I think this is something he's wanted for quite some time, to have to rely on his legs less and his ability to deliver the ball more. So if he's happy, then hopefully everybody else around him will be happy as well. He's got the arm strength to make any throw.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a question. It's just that his ability to become a true passer has been overshadowed by people being more wild by his factor to be Houdini, avoid a rush, step up and take off and kill people running for real estate.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think it was a natural progression, to evolve to this. It's not to say you're going to take it away completely, but to evolve. All right. Hey, this is nice from Tyler. Girlfriend for my birthday and Father's Day, which are weeks apart, she got us tickets to the Jets-Eagles game. I'm pumped. Never been to a football game. Okay.
Nice.
Right. Good work. Good work out of your significant other there.
I hope they're good seats. Enjoy the experience. It's going to be a great game. Jalen Hurts and Aaron Rodgers. Get ready to spend some money. Beverage, food.
Oh yeah,
parking. Unless you're taking public transportation to get there, get ready to spend some money, man.
Well, Well, here's the good thing, right? And the game's in North Jersey. October 15th will still be nice weather.
Yes.
You're not going to be freezing.
Yes.
So at least there's that. You get that going for it. You're not going to be sitting frigid at that one. But that'll be cool. He'll have fun. That game is so much more interesting than it could have been.
Oh my goodness.
Oof. What are you feeling about him? About Rodgers there?
It's a great fit for him. It's a great fit for the organization. I think he's going to get what he wants because he's already spending a lot of time with his buddy Nathaniel Hackett, formalizing his offensive input into this offense. It's an offense that's going to cater to what he does. It'll be more so what Aaron Rodgers wants to do more so than what Nathaniel Hackett wants to do. But when you look at who he's throwing the ball to from wide receivers to tight ends and who he's handing the ball off to, you couldn't have picked a better scenario for Aaron Rodgers. You didn't send him to Houston. You didn't send him to Chicago, teams that are still rebuilding. You sent him to a team that has been built over the last couple of years to win now. The only thing missing was a quarterback, and he is that quarterback to take this thing to the next level. And that's why I think if he comes together quickly, that the Jets are a team that's going to be pushing Miami and Buffalo for supremacy in that AFC East.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's – look, he got his wish. He's at a place he wanted to be, but it is not going to be easy. It is not going to be – I mean, even the teams that may be down, like New England, are still – could potentially be good. So I think it's going to be a challenge. Miami, if Tua, like you said, if Tua stays healthy, and yeah, it's going to be a hard division, for sure. And then there's Buffalo. All right. So beyond that, just to kind of hit a couple different things. You alerted me to this, Derek. Josh Johnson, speaking of Ravens,
yep.
and getting back to Lamar, he's now played, because he's signed back with them. He's 37 years old with Baltimore. He's played for 14 different NFL teams.
Yep. An NFL record, 14 teams.
On top of that, what, USFL, AFL, XFL.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, to me, this is he's probably made enough money that he could be in nice shape in his life.
Oh, absolutely.
This dude loves football.
Yeah.
This guy loves playing football. Good for him. How many times has he had doors shut on him where somebody's like, dude, just hang it up? And this guy just keeps coming back. I love it.
Well, career-wise, he's never been looked at as a frontline quarterback, but he's thought well enough of that people like having him as a security blanket in situations.
Yeah.
He's not going to win you many games, but he's not going to hurt you a whole lot in games. He is the consummate professional football player who, to me right now, doesn't even think about any other options outside of the game. When you've bounced around as many times as he has, and I'm assuming that's got to be taxing on your family as well, man.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Unless you just tell your family, hey, I'll see you in bye weeks in the off season.
Right.
That's a lot to ask your family to go through, bounce around the way he has. That's like being in the military in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But kudos to him for sticking it out, to seeing how much more he can get out of the game, for seeing how many teams still have interest in him. And obviously they do, because he's about to hit his 15th team in Baltimore. So God bless him. We always talk about the quarterbacks who stay with the same team 12, 14 years, the Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady's. But for a guy to bounce around and not be frustrated with the game, I think he's looking at it as this. This game continues to give me more than I get out of it. The joy of being in the locker room with a bunch of guys, being in a huddle, being on a practice field, putting on a game jersey, and being a professional athlete for one more year. Every year for him is one more year that he gets to do this. And if he can ride it out, who knows? 3 years from now, we could still be talking about him playing for his 18th or 19th team. But who knows?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't put anything past him. Let's put it that way. That's for sure. But pretty cool. Pretty cool there. This is another one. This is another one of your gems today. Stan Kroenke, who owns the Rams. By the way, he is not a well-liked man in St. Louis. That's for sure, with the way things went there. But anyway, so Gunnar, correct me if I'm wrong here. He won a championship with the Rams in
2022.
Yeah, it was the 21 season, but 22.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Avalanche last year.
Yep.
He won an esport championship in 22.
Yep.
His Colorado Mammoth lacrosse team is in the finals. Is that what you told me?
Yes, they are. They are in position to win back-to-back championships in lacrosse.
Wow. Good point by Dan. Josh Johnson's first year was 08. Tebow's was 2010 in a first rounder. Who would have thought he'd last longer? It's exactly right.
Really.
That's true? A great call. And then lastly, he also owns a piece of the Nuggets.
Yes.
Who are in the NBA. This dude's on fire right now.
So since February of 2022, with the possibility of the Nuggets winning an NBA championship and the possibility of the Mammoth winning another lacrosse title, he could have 6 championships under his belt in less than 2 full years.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Less than 2 full years. 6 championships. And on top of that, Rob, he owns the Arsenal in the Premier Soccer League over in Europe. And that team's about to finish in second place in his division and move up to a better division next season.
My God.
You're talking about sports gold right now for a guy?
Yeah.
That's not a bad haul, man, when you think about it.
Yeah, he's doing pretty darn good, man. That is for sure.
It certainly isn't Josh Harris, that's for sure.
No. How about this one? So Jalen Ramsey in the offseason got dealt from speaking of the Rams, from the Rams to the Dolphins. Okay. He took his talents to South Beach. Selling his LA area home for $14+ million. My man was living pretty large.
He bought the house in 2020, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, 2020 from Howie Mandel.
Just 3 years ago. Okay.
For $9.5. This house has 6 bedrooms, 10,000 square feet, a movie theater, a bar, a wine room, a gym, a sauna, a basketball court, and a pool and a guest house. And the thing is, he's got that house is in the perfect market because people don't blink paying 10, 12, 14 million for a house in the LA area when you go to certain areas. Now, if he had that house, let's say somewhere like Buffalo, Denver, might take him a little longer to sell. I don't think he's going to have that house long. He's going to make a nice $5 million profit off a house.
Think so? You think he'll get that much? Wow.
I think at the very least, he'll get 12.5 for it, which means he'll still make a $3 million profit off of it. It's not a bad investment.
I watch a decent amount of HGTV, not tons, but I like to see, because I really like just to see different parts of the country and world and all, and where they do house hunters or I watch a lot of it's based out of LA and for like shacks, and granted they remake these things and flip them and they look great, but for tiny little houses, I mean, you're talking millions. It's crazy what the housing market is in that area.
Dude, San Francisco is worse than LA. You
can
believe that?
Man.
1,000 square foot home in San Francisco starts at like $850, $900. Who in the world is buying these places?
I don't know.
And I'm not talking about in great neighborhoods either. I'm talking about in borderline neighborhoods. They're going for $850, 1,000, 1,200 square foot homes. And I'm thinking, dude, I wouldn't pay that if I had that kind of money.
No,
I'm not. If I'm going to spend that kind of money, I want at least 8,000 to 10,000 feet. I want to be able to spread my wings.
Yeah,
be in a part of the house where the family can't find me if I don't want them to.
Crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For that kind, and the housing market is crazy. One of our former colleagues, Kelly Johnson, who used to cover the Washington Commanders for NBC Sports DC, she went out to NBC Sports Bay Area. And she got out of the business, and she's a full-time real estate agent up in the Bay Area now. And I talk to her occasionally. She says, you won't believe the numbers that people are getting for houses. I mean, small, dinky houses that you wouldn't look twice at. And I'm like, man, I'm in the wrong business.
I'm telling you.
Being a real estate agent in California. Another friend of ours, Lisa Hillary, is who worked with us in Philadelphia. Yeah. She's a real estate agent in the LA market. And she's doing well for herself. And I'm thinking, man, why didn't I get out of this business?
Start calling, Derek. Yeah.
Man,
I hear you. I know. All right. So let's dig into our quarterback storylines. Now, I think maybe we'll do rookies tomorrow, but we're going to exclude the rookies, and we're going to exclude Jalen Hurts because we always talk about Jalen Hurts, right?
Yep.
So a couple of the interesting storylines. I'm going to start with Russell Wilson. It was the worst year of his career by far.
Yeah.
And he was, it was Nathaniel Hackett who looked like he was overmatched, and Hackett didn't even make it to the end of the season. And, Wilson went a little bit on an uptick after he got fired, but nonetheless, it was a disaster. Sean Payton comes in. Sean Payton basically lays down the law. You don't need 5 lockers. Your guy isn't traveling with you. We're getting back to basics here, man. You're just like anybody else on the team. And to Russell Wilson's credit, there wasn't, at least in front that we know of, a lot of pushback.
Right.
And he's got some talent. He's definitely got some talent with the receiving core and whatnot out there. And they have a really good defense. In your estimation, do you think we see something near, maybe not vintage, because he's getting up there a little bit, but does he get more back to the Seattle heyday Russell Wilson than whatever it was we saw last year?
Russell has the perfect coach to get him back to where he needs to be in Sean Payton. And I think the AFC West is going to be that shootout we thought it was last year because of Sean Payton's presence with Denver. Sean Payton is so good at working with quarterbacks and getting the most out of quarterbacks and putting quarterbacks in positions to succeed, his offensive structure. And I would say Russell could get back to that elite level under Sean Payton, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I just think out of all the possible coaches that could have taken that job, Russell landed a gold mine getting Sean Payton there. Sean Payton is a no-nonsense coach. Not going to put up with all these little quirky antics. We're all about business here, men. We're here to play football. Look at the people around you. We have the talent to do a lot of dangerous things. And I think Sean Payton is going to turn that team around real quick and put them right in the thick of the playoff discussion in December.
Mm-hmm. All right. I feel a bounce back there too. I think that he's embarrassed at the way last year went. Everybody sort of wrote him off. This is why they got rid of him in Seattle. He's a prima donna, blah, blah, blah. And I think Sean Payton, I agree with you, is the perfect guy because he's going to come in and just gut it and basically get it back and play to his strengths. And he's smart enough coach. It's ideal. And Sean Payton's got a lot to prove. He sat out for that year and I think was very comfortable in the TV world, but Denver made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And I think in part he took that because of Russell Wilson. So I'm with you. I like the way that's going to set up. All right. For as much as we talked about it last year, we rarely bring him up now.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson. This is a guy who hasn't played good football. He got reps last year when the suspension ended, but he hasn't played really good football a couple of years now, Derek.
Yeah.
A lot of inactivity. And again, a situation where he has some talent. There's no doubt. There's talent there. Does he round back into form, or has it just been too long since this guy's done it?
No, I think he has a chance to round back into form and make Cleveland a really competitive team. First of all, I think he's a much better quarterback than Baker Mayfield, and that's not saying a whole lot.
Yeah.
You're throwing to Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Your tight end is David Njoku. You have all the weapons you need. Your running game, you have one of the better offensive lines in the game. You have one of the premier running backs in the game in Nick Chubb. And I think this is the year Deshaun Watson makes everybody forget about what happened to him down in Houston and focus on him as a football player. I think this is going to be a special year. I don't know if this is going to make Cleveland a playoff team, but I think Deshaun's going to get back to doing what Deshaun did down in Houston, which got him all that guaranteed money in Cleveland.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I think if you're Cleveland, you had to have an inkling that last year was going to be tough. It was just going to be one of those kind of years. This is where you need to see the payoff because, Derek, if he doesn't get back to form, this is perhaps the worst contract in the history of sports, at least in the NFL, with all that guaranteed money. What was it, $246 million guaranteed, something like that? Ooh. They better hope he plays at a high level, for sure, because it will be the end of Stefanski. You'll see massive sweeping changes there, but there's nothing you could better just hope because he's not going anywhere with that guaranteed money.
Heck no.
All right, we kind of touched on Lamar, so we don't need to dip our foot back into that pool. I want to ask you about Justin Fields, who crazy rushing numbers last year. In his defense, had very little to throw to. was a guy I feel like he did what he had to do, which was take off with the football. That really wasn't his MO that much at Ohio State, but he was just kind of doing what he had to do. They've gotten him a few weapons here now. DJ Moore comes over. They've done some other things. Do you see him taking the step from wow, what an athlete, to this guy looks like a quarterback? What do you think there?
Yeah. Chicago, first and foremost, they needed to fix their defense, and they went out and did that. They spent money fixing the defense and bringing in some defensive personnel. Now, on the offense, he finally has a frontline receiver in DJ Moore, and he's got a nice complement of receivers as well. Darnell Mooney is a good receiver. You got Chase Claypool from Pittsburgh. Equimania St. Brown is not a bad receiver as well. And your tight end is Cole Kmet. So and Robert Tonyan. They just Chicago took Robert Tonyan from Green Bay, and Robert Tonyan is a solid tight end. So he has more than enough weapons to get the job done in this case. The offensive line is okay, but if they shorten up the passing game, he's going to be pretty good. Now, I'm not saying Chicago's going to have a winning record, but I think he'll improve. He took a beating last year. Mm-hmm. He had to use his legs out of necessity because he had nothing. Now he's got a better collection of pass catchers to take some of that pressure off of him of having to scramble and run around and try to pick up yards with his legs. So I think, yes, he's going to improve. To what degree? Way too early to say right now.
Yeah. All right. I hear you. I definitely want to keep your eye on there. All right. This is right in your sweet spot here. Jordan Love.
Ooh.
They finally make the move to spread their wings a little bit without Aaron Rodgers. They turn the reins over to Jordan Love. They give him an extension. Tell me where you're at with this. Do you think that this guy is the real deal? Will he be the real deal? Does he have enough around him to be the real deal?
Green Bay has been a very frustrating organization in terms of addressing wide receivers, enhancing the speed, and pass catchers in general. They put so much emphasis on drafting defense. They have 7 former first-round picks on their defense.
Wow.
Yeah, think about that. And their defense, for the most part, last season was a sieve. It didn't really settle down until later in the season. If there's one thing that Green Bay has done consistently well, it's identify that next quarterback. Since 1992, they've only had 2 prime quarterbacks. When you think about some teams have started 25, 30 different quarterbacks, Green Bay has had 2 quarterbacks primarily since 1992, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. When they drafted Jordan Love, people are like, what the heck are you doing when you needed so many other things, especially in offense? But lo and behold, here we are again. It's like Groundhog's Day. They made Rodgers sit on the bench 3 years before they turned the reins over to him. He struggled in his first year, and then he became Aaron Rodgers' lightning rod his second year. When Jordan Love came out of college, the scouting report on him has the capability to do similar things to Patrick Mahomes, like the crazy throws, off-balance throws, things like that. Obviously, he hasn't had a chance to showcase that. Now it's his show. He's going to struggle. He's going to go through growing pains. Now, here's what I like. The coaching staff says the entire playbook is open to him. I think Matt LaFleur's offense was handcuffed because Aaron Rodgers didn't want to run certain aspects of the offense. Now I think you're going to see a more wide-open, versatile offense with Jordan Love under center. He's got some good young speed receivers. They weren't first-round draft picks, but Christian Watson is a 6'5", 4'3", 40 guy who can flat out go. The Eagles got a taste of that when he took one over the middle and took it to the house. And now Christian Watson is back. Romeo Doubs is coming back. So he's got some good young pass catchers. They drafted 4 more pass catchers, 2 tight ends, and 2 more receivers. So this is a team that's going to go through growing pains. I think LaFleur is very good at developing a quarterback in this case, but I expect Green Bay to be struggling with Chicago to stay out of the basement in that division, as much as it pains me to say that.
Yeah, that's got to hurt you a little bit.
Hurts, man.
Little sting.
Looking up to Detroit, Minnesota hurts.
Well, okay, good segue. Jared Goff had a great year last year.
Yep.
Surprised a lot of people. A lot of people wrote him off as soon as that trade happened a couple of years back to the Lions, but to his credit, he really responded. And you know, you're talking about a guy who's got really nice players to you know, well, the backfield's going to look a little bit different. They got David Montgomery, but Amon St. Brown, who's a stud.
Yep.
You know, is DJ Chark? I think he's still there.
I believe so.
He may have moved on from him. I don't know. But TJ Hawkinson, who they traded away, they did lose him. That hurts a little bit. But they added some weapons here. But Goff ends up throwing for 4,400 yards.
Yep.
29 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions, and had a 99.3 passer rating. So are you believing that is for real with him?
Yes. Yes. He was only sacked 23 times the entire season, which means the offensive line did its job. And they have a very good offensive line in Detroit.
They do.
And I expect Jared Goff to be more of the same this year, more efficient Jared Goff. You know, you're right. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, Jameson Williams has been suspended, obviously. But you also have Marvin Jones Jr. You have Josh Reynolds. You know, you look at the running back situation for them now. They got, you know, Jamar Gibbs, David Montgomery. This team is loaded. They're loaded. You know, and I expect them to put up 4,400 yards again this year. And I expect Detroit's defense to be better because of some of the moves they made and the draft picks they made. I think Jared Goff is going to be right up there as one of the top 10 passers in a game, and I expect Detroit to fully compete with Minnesota for that division title. I
do too. I like Detroit a lot. I think they respond to Dan Campbell. I think their defense is going to be better. I think they will score points again. I think this is an extremely dangerous team. I like them a lot.
There's two teams that I'm going to enjoy. Three teams that I'm going to enjoy watching this year from afar, not as a fan, but just not as a fan of those teams, but just a football fan.
Right.
Miami, the Jets, and Detroit.
Same.
Those three teams.
Yeah, I'm curious with all of them. You know, the shame of it is with Tua, you're just holding your breath every time.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Seattle then. Because Geno Smith, very similar here in that a lot of people wrote him off, and you know, to his credit, perseverance. 4,200 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, a 100.9 passer rating, and got broken off in the offseason. He got paid. You know, Pete Carroll said we're going to take care of him. They took care of him. He's back. Not only does he have DK Metcalf, but they traded for, or they drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? I think they drafted him. So he's got some weapons there, Lockett, etc. What are you thinking there? Are you buying Geno as the sort of not only does he come back last year and surprise everybody, he stays on that path?
Geno is a prime case of if you get in the right system, you can flourish. Geno had the type of success this past season that he's never had before. The man completed 70% of his passes, threw for over 4,200 yards and 30 touchdown passes, and had a rating of 100.9. Pete Carroll did an incredible job of getting Geno Smith to play high caliber football. And now when you look at Seattle and what they have at their disposal, I love Kenneth Walker as a running back. Mm-hmm. You know, DK Metcalf is a beast. Tyler Lockett is that go-to shredded guy. And Jigba, they're adding him. They have Noah Fant and Will Dissly as their tight ends. They have everything they need, man. And I don't know if he'll complete 70% of his passes again, but I expect him to be very efficient. Geno doesn't make a lot of mistakes with the ball, and even at this stage of his career, he can still burn you with his legs also. He can step up and run. Mm-hmm. It's not a part of his primary game like a Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts, but he can hurt you running the ball as well.
Yeah.
And I expect Geno to be right up there again, being efficient in Pete Carroll's offense, not making an abundance of mistakes, and putting the Seahawks in contention to compete for that division title. I think San Francisco, even with the quarterback issues, is still the premier team in that division. But I think Seattle is going to be right there, bird dogging them, pushing them for that title with Geno in the center.
The last one I'm going to ask you about is Kenny Pickett, just for our purposes here. Now, played in 13 games, didn't start all those games. Early on, you remember it was Trubisky, and then he took over.
Yep.
Still threw for 2,400 yards. touchdown to interception ratio is not going to, do anything for you. 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, a 76 passer rating. This was a clear case of a guy really early figuring this thing out. And as the season went on, started to show a lot more promise. Are you a believer in Kenny Pickett as that guy?
Based on what we saw from him the latter half of the season, yes. He struggled, and rightfully so, as a young quarterback for the most part. But he really turned it on the last several games of the season, and he's a significant reason why. Mike Tomlin's record is still intact of not having a losing season in 15, 16 years as a head coach in the National Football League. How much can he take his game to the next level? It's going to be wait and see. But I like him. He's fearless. He takes a beating, but he doesn't back down. Yep. Some quarterbacks get hit enough, all of a sudden they curl up, they start seeing ghosts, throwing the ball too soon, throwing the ball away. Not Kenny. He stood tall in the pocket, knowing he was going to get hit and bounced up to live to play another day. I like this moxie, man. I just like everything about him, in terms of being a leader in that huddle.
Yeah.
I expect to see improvement from him in that Steelers offense.
I do too. I don't think he's going to, at least this year, go into that second year jump that you see, Joe Burrow take and some of those guys. I don't think that's what he's going to be, but I think you're going to see that he's definitely their quarterback going forward. I think that's what you're going to see for Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's going to be right back there. And let's face it, they lost TJ Watt for a good stretch last year, and that did them in. If he can stay healthy, that's going to change things for them dramatically this upcoming year, because he's the key to everything. When it comes to them, and they're not the same without him. He is just a total difference maker for them. Actually, I do want to hit you with one more. I lied. Baker Mayfield, is that over? You done even giving that any kind of thought? He's down in Tampa now in a situation without a ton.
I think Baker is there to help Tampa Bay get a high draft pick next year and draft their future quarterback, plain and simple. I've never been a Baker Mayfield fan. He's energetic, exciting. He went to the Rams last year and pulled out a couple of games for him. I'm not a big Baker Mayfield fan. I think he's more hype than substance, more so than anything else. I think he's done. This Tampa Bay team defensively has a lot of cracks in it. The offense is going to be relied on a lot more. He's got a good nucleus of talent to throw to down there. But I think
that he does. Yeah, he does have that.
I think Baker is too careless with the football at times and throws too many interceptions. I'm not buying Baker Mayfield being the savior to the Buccaneers organization.
Yeah, and I just think bad timing, period.
Yeah.
For him. Yeah. It felt like they were being held together with bubble gum and, duct tape last year with Brady. And now he's got to step into that situation. It's not an ideal setup. I think the problem I think with Baker is after this year, he could be looking at just backup mode and sticking around the league.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
All right, let's come back.
Hey, I got one more for you.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I've seen this report several times now over the past couple of days. It appears that Julio Jones wants to play with the Eagles. He wants to be reunited with A.J. Brown, his teammate in Tennessee, and, of course, play for an Eagles team that came that close to winning the Super Bowl. The story goes on to say that if A.J. can't if Julio can't play with the Eagles, he might retire. Would you like to see Julio in an Eagles uniform?
If I get him at a real cheap rate, absolutely. Absolutely. He's not the same guy, but if I get him cheap, definitely. I don't love their. We talked about their depth yesterday. It's Quez and Olamide Zaccheaus.
Yeah.
There's not much else behind them. I mean, you get. I was looking at it yesterday, so it's like Devin Allen, Britton Covey, Greg Ward, Joseph Nagata, and Charleston Rambo.
Yeah.
Tyree Cleveland. Jaden Hasselwood. Frankly, I don't know who some of these guys are.
I agree with you.
So, yes, I would consider it. I think he's definitely on the back end, but you're telling me that guy can't help you in some possession situations?
Big target, sure-handed.
Yeah. Red zone?
Red zone, yeah. Yeah, I have no problem with that also. You put him in there with AJ and Devontae, and Dallas Goedert.
Yep. Got some size too.
Yeah, man.
You know, with
Yeah.
being Goddard out there, and yeah,
Mm.
I would look at it for sure. But that doesn't surprise me that he's maybe considering retirement either. I mean, it's been the last couple of years he's bounced a lot, and he's certainly not the same guy. You know, that's for sure. And he's made a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh, no question about it.
Yeah. Interesting name. All right, let's come back. More on our guy Michael Block, the PGA Tour pro.
This dude is unbelievable.
He's living his best life. Brooks Koepka has been making the rounds. Female golfer story you're going to want to hear as well. So we'll get into a bunch of that. We do have good birthdays, good movies for you. So don't go anywhere in our final segment of the program. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's hit the like button. Tell a friend. All right, time to tell you a little bit about Razor technology. All right, it's because disaster recovery is critical here, and when you're in the middle of an emergency, it's the wrong time to wonder who is in charge and how to respond. Restoring malfunctioning systems, rebooting complex servers, reconfiguring applications, bringing backups online, and reauthorizing users all takes time, and the longer it takes, the more damage that a business is exposed to. Razor technology helps growing businesses develop a disaster recovery plan that protects all of their essential data. Razor ensures all your critical systems are backed up and that backups are regularly checked to ensure that they can be deployed at a moment's notice. Depend on Razor technology, your trusted IT managed service provider, to save time and money on your IT and cloud services. Find out if your business is built to recover from a data disaster by calling Razor Technology today at 866-797-3282, 866-797-3282, or visit them online at razor-tech.com. That's razor-tech.com.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Back, baby. Final segment of the program. We will be with you guys tomorrow as we embark on Memorial Day weekend. So we're all excited about that. All right. So this is cool. That Michael Block PGA Tour pro out of Southern California, who did so well at the PGA Championship this past weekend, tied for 15th, had a hole-in-one on 15. Derek, he has been offered $50,000 for the TaylorMade club that he used, the iron that he used for that hole-in-one. I know he's debating what to do. He's not really sure if he's going to give it up, wait it out a little bit longer. I don't know, man. That's a tough call. Like, do you wait? Somebody might offer you a little bit higher, or eventually people are going to say, who cares? I don't know. You grab the 50 when you can grab it. What do you do?
I wait and see if I can get a little bit more. It appears that the PGA of America is hoping to display it in their new headquarters in Frisco, Texas. Well, if you want to put my club on display, how much you willing to give me? 50 is a nice number, but considering I haven't won much money in my life, I need a little bit more.
Yeah.
Can you give me just a little bit more?
Yep. Wet my beak, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, I might give in at 75, 50. I'm listening to you at 50.
Yeah. Right.
75. I'm about to hand the club over to you.
Yeah.
And, you give me 100. I will personally deliver it to your new headquarters in Frisco, Texas.
I like 50's got my attention. Let's put it that way. You got my attention at 50.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm answering the phone at 50.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That will be interesting. So the guy who actually won the tournament, and it was his 5th major, was Brooks Koepka. He is a Florida native, Derek, and he has my man's making the rounds to all the playoff activity, right?
Well, he's got the money. He won $3 million for winning the PGA Championship. So it's not like, but of course now when you win it, everybody rolls out the red carpet for you. So he's not paying for anything right now.
Right. Yeah, he was at a Heat game. He was at the Panthers, but I think two Panthers games and a Heat game. I think he was at. I'm pretty sure.
So Monday he was at the Panthers Hurricanes game.
Yeah.
Tuesday is when he went to the Heat Celtics game 4.
Okay.
And then on Wednesday, he's there to see the Panthers clinch their first Stanley Cup appearance in 26 years.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. He's he grew up in Lake Worth, Florida.
Yeah.
Brooks Koepka. So he's from that area, put his college golf at Florida State. So he's very much a Florida guy, resides in Jupiter, so he is a fan of those teams. I think he's not just a bandwagon jumper. So that is interesting to see the way that played out. Now you alerted me to this one too, which is great. You may not know the name Amy Olsen,
right?
But she is a player on the LPGA tour.
Yep.
She's also 6 months pregnant, Eric. Now,
yes,
you would think at 6 months pregnant, she might want to just maybe table golf for a second, have the child in 3 months, whatever, or sooner, and then maybe get back at it at some point. Nope. She's going to be playing in the Pebble Beach for the U.S. Women's Open, 6 months pregnant. Whoa.
Dude, you're walking 18 holes carrying that extra weight. 6 months you're showing. I wonder how much it'll affect your swing. You're showing it 6 months, and you got to walk 18 holes as well. You're not riding golf carts. And I'm like, what did she say? She said, before giving birth, I'm going to waddle up there and do whatever I can. More power to you. Great exercise. I always tell pregnant women, get your exercise in, get your walking in. It'll help your back and all this stuff. But walking, you're not on walking just flat surfaces. You're walking up and down slopes, man. With 6 months pregnant? I don't know. Hey, you know what? Kudos to her, but I don't know how she's going to do it.
That's got to be tough, man. I mean, just one round in that condition.
She's been on the tour 10 years, and she's only won $2.6 million in her entire career.
Right.
But I guess the chance to play at the Women's U.S. Open was too much to pass up, even though she's pregnant.
Yeah.
There's a good possibility she won't make the cut, but just to say she did it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things to get off a bucket list, I guess, just to say you actually did it. God bless her.
She's a gamer. That is for sure. All right, let's hit some birthdays. You ready to do some birthdays and movies?
Always.
All right, let's do this thing.
I got a whole litany of them for you because it is the month of May.
That's right. There's a good amount of both. The movies, I will say this, our movies lately have been particularly strong. Like we've had a lot of good movies.
Because it's May. I keep telling you this. You're not listening.
Correct. All right. Roman Reigns, the wrestler, is 38 years old today.
Did you know he battled leukemia for 11 years?
I didn't know that until today. I had no idea. To be able to keep up that schedule, that physical demanding profession.
He eventually took a break, but then he came back, and now he's at the top of his profession again.
Yeah.
I think, what was the stat I saw about him? He's the longest reigning WWE Universal Champ, and I believe he might be the Universal Champ again. Even after but 11 years of battling leukemia.
That's crazy.
Woo,
God bless him, man. Hope everything stays good. Cillian Murphy, Irish actor. He's 47 years old. He's in a lot of stuff. He's very, very good. Very intense actor.
He was great in Dunkirk.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Among a lot of other stuff he's good in.
Yep.
Mike Myers of Wayne and Garth. Among a lot of other stuff, Saturday Night Live days. Countless stuff that he's been in. And he's good in everything. He kind of disappeared for a while. And now he's, I think, kind of made a comeback, Mike Myers, but he's 60 today. The actor Ian McKellen is 84 today.
What a career he's had, man. He was Magneto in the X-Men movies, and he was Gandalf. He was Gandalf in the Lord of Rings trilogy.
Yep. Yeah. Beyond that, Ali Reisman, who was an Olympic gymnast, is 29 years old.
Won 6 Olympic medals.
She was unbelievable. Incredible actress Octavia Spencer is 53 today. One of the most recognizable faces. When you see her face, you know exactly who we're talking about.
Academy Award winner for the movie Hidden Figures.
Yeah. Which is a great
movie.
The
Help. She got an Academy Award in the movie.
Yeah, Hidden Figures is great too.
Movie.
That was on not all that long ago, and I watched it again. She's awesome in that.
Yep.
True story too. The philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson was born on this day in 1803. The puppeteer and voiceover actor Frank Oz, he was Yoda in the Star Wars movies, which we'll get to in a second, is 79 years old today.
He was also Miss Piggy, the Muppets and the Cookie Monster, Sesame Street.
Yes, he is. Yeah. He's been around for a long time. He is a talented guy, man. He really is. Beyond that, we have Claude Akins, the actor, who did a lot of stuff in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He was born on this day in 1926.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame. This guy just died. He was a very good actor, Ray Stevenson.
Yeah, man.
And he passed away really young at the age of, he was 58. And he just celebrated a birthday, but he died last week. Leslie Uggams, been around a long time, 80 years old today. Yeah. Yep. She's been around since the 60s, 50s and 60s. Austin Powers was the other one. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Tony, and Shrek for Mike Myers. Brian Urlacher, the Hall of Fame linebacker, 45 years old is Brian Urlacher today. Malik Willis, whose future I think is in doubt in Tennessee.
I agree.
After they drafted Will Levis. So we'll see what ends up happening. He's 24. Anne Heche, who just passed away not all that long ago, sadly, in a messy car crash.
Car crash, yeah.
Yep. She was born on this day in 1969. And she had a pretty tough life, upbringing and whatnot. Robert Ludlum is the great author, was born on this day, 1927. Casey Jones, great basketball player and coach for the Boston Celtics, was born on this day in 1932.
He won 11 of his. The dude won 12 championships. He won 11 with Boston.
Incredible.
Can you believe that?
Incredible. And was a heck of a coach too. All right, that's all I got. You got anything else birthday wise? I have a lot of movies.
My goodness, yeah. Matter of fact, talking about Casey Jones, the only African American coach other than Bill Russell to win multiple championships. That's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. Yep.
Let's see. Going back, you have Dixie Carter, the singer.
Okay.
Oh, no. Dixie Carter. Actress. She played Julia Sugarbaker in Designing Women. I used to love that sitcom.
Yep.
He was good.
Yep.
You have Ethan Suplee. He's been in so many movies. Remember the Titans, The Butterfly Effect, The Wolf of Wall Street. 47 years old. Karen Valentine. Remember the old sitcom Room 222?
Yep.
She was one of the teachers. She's 76 now, dude.
Jeez, man.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Country singer Tom T. Hall.
Okay.
He's 87 today. His nickname was the Storyteller.
Right.
Let's see. You also have here Kevin Heffernan from the movies Super Trooper 1 and 2. It's 55. Let's see. Former heavyweight boxing champion Gene Tunney was a heavyweight champion from 1926 to 1928. He was born in 1897 on this day. Bill Sharman.
Yeah.
10-time NBA champion.
Yep.
You know, he's the first North American sports figure to win a championship as a player, a coach, and an executive.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
He won titles. Now get this. He won titles in the ABL, the ABA, and the NBA.
Damn.
The ABL was only in existence for 2 years. He won a title in that league first. Okay. He was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame as a player and as an executive. That's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. Yeah.
Kendall Gill. Remember Kendall Gill?
Kendall Gill, good player. Illinois, and then he played for the Hornets and the Bulls and a bunch of other teams. Yeah.
Yes, 55 years old today. He's also an analyst for NBC Sports Chicago, I believe it is.
Yep.
The great opera singer Beverly Sills was born on this day in 1929. Dre Greenlaw, linebacker for San Francisco, is 26. Rashida, the rapper, 41. Chris Young. Do you remember Chris Young?
The pitcher?
The center, the pitcher, Chris Young, who was a center at Penn.
Princeton.
At Princeton.
Yeah.
He was a pain inside a Penn every year.
Yep.
You know, he's currently the GM of the Texas Rangers.
Yep. He really has ascended in baseball.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
He's 44 today.
Okay.
The great voice behind the mic, Lindsey Nelson, one of my all-time favorites.
Good one.
Was born on this day in 1919. And Miguel Tejada, former shortstop, played 16 years in the majors, is 49 today.
He had a good career, Miguel Tejada.
Did.
Yeah, for sure. All right, good ones. Good birthdays. Good list. Yeah, Tyler, we mentioned Roman Reigns. Yep, thank you. He was the first one we mentioned, but I appreciate it. All right, movies. Man, the original Star Wars today, Derek. 1977.
Man.
And then Return of the Jedi in 83. How about those? Boom, boom.
I'm telling you, yeah.
Pretty strong. 1979 Alien, the original. Equally great. Pearl Harbor, which is good. A pretty good movie. I thought it was good, not great.
I did too.
Solid. 2001. Crocodile Dundee. That's not a knife. That's a knife.
That's
88.
Yep.
Moonrise Kingdom, 2012. Men in Black 3 was also 2012. Back to the Future 3 was 1990. Pirates of the Caribbean, 2007. 1967 Barefoot in the Park. What did I miss? Did I miss any? I think that's all I had for the movies.
That's it.
I got it. Oh, go.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right. I usually miss a couple. All right. They're all still pretty strong, for sure. All right, so throw it back here. The Phillies play tonight. They're in Atlanta. They start a 4-game series there. On the hill for the Phillies is Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola pitched perhaps his best outing.
Yes.
The last time.
Last outing, yes.
Last time he pitched, he was great. So they are going to really need him to carry that over tonight in Atlanta. It's a 7:20 start. Then you have Taijuan Walker goes on Friday. Pet peeve here, Derek. So you have Saturday Wheeler and Sunday's TBA. Memorial Day Monday, the Phillies aren't playing. Can you explain this to me?
Isn't that 2 years in a row now?
Yeah, and last year also 4th of July. I don't understand it.
So they're playing a doubleheader in Atlanta?
No, they're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That gets you to 4th,
okay,
but nothing on Monday. They go to New York on Tuesday. I don't. I would love for Major League Baseball to explain this to me. How there isn't a game. Why would you not play a day game on Memorial Day?
Well, you know what? I'm surprised this is 2 years in a row. But Rob, think about it like this. Now that's one less thing you have to focus on, so you can enjoy the ambiance of having a day off, maybe grilling out, and enjoying some good food and good family time.
I got you. Okay. Good positive.
Maybe you even let up and let your family order what they want if you don't put around.
I hear you. All right. I want to thank everybody in the chat. You guys are the best. We do appreciate it. Everybody streaming, everybody listening. Thank you. Thank you to our producer, Tone DeShields, doing his thing.
Tone.
As always, getting it done. Love it. Tone, thank you, my friend. Back at it tomorrow, guys. Same time, bad time, same bad channel. By the way, don't go anywhere. Coming up, you have 3 hours of Power with Dan Cilio and the National Football Show. We'll rehash all the Philly stuff, all the Eagle stuff, all the NFL stuff, all the Sixers latest. If there's any updates on the coaching search, we'll also look back at Game 5 between the Celtics and the Heat tonight as well. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks for hanging out. We're looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. For Derek, I'm Rob. We are Sports Take. See you guys tomorrow.
Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.